Dropping that culture. 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 Dropping that culture.
All right, folks. Welcome to another edition of Dropping That Culture with JD and AJ. I am JD.
And I'm AJ.
And boy, do we have a good one for y'all this evening.
It's going to be a great one.
Yeah, we are really excited about this particular show because it's a show that's actually near and dear to both of our hearts as intense lovers of sketch comedy.
If you thought we geeked out before, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Oh my God, yeah, we are ready. Both of us got notes. Usually I'm the one with notes. We both got notes because both of us really dig this particular subject.
Well, see, normally when we're talking about stuff, because I love everything we talk about on this show, I've got enough of a wealth of knowledge because I'm just weird like that. I mean, that's just part of my geeky side. Mm-hmm. I'm good to go. And I can also count on you to bring in some stuff that, I wouldn't have found otherwise, but I get so excited about In Living Color. If we'd have done any of the sketch shows, I'd have come in exact same way this week.
That's right. That's what's up.
Sketch comedy's it.
Yeah. So, like I said, we kind of have been alluding to it, but our subject matter this week, In Living Color. Actually, we did a poll on this after our last show, and this won number one with a bullet.
Oh, absolutely. Head and shoulders above everything else.
Even Chappelle's show, but Chappelle's show was close.
Yeah, look, I mean, it was definitely more in the running than Mad TV. And in fact, I hope you guys are enjoying some of the content. I went ahead and threw some of my favorite sketches up on the Facebook page. This might be a good time to say, if you're not following Dropping That Culture on Facebook, follow it. We do put content on there. It's not just a place for us to promote, hey, new show.
Yes. All right, so real quick, let's go ahead and go to our sponsors. First off, Belsaverse. Go to Facebook, go to the Belsaverse page. Also, go to the Belsaverse group. Join. It's a great source for the latest in entertainment news from the urban perspective. I'm the beloved founder of Belsaverse. Also, check out the Belsaverse Instagram page. And also, go on to teespring.com. Get yourself some Belsaverse merch. We are actually getting some sales right now, which I'm very, very excited about. Very happy about. A couple people have been posting things with basically them wearing the Belsaverse merch, and I'm very, very happy about that. So like I said, go out there and get yourself some. Enjoy yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's a great conversation starter and also helps support the show. So again, go to Teespring at Belsaverse. Go to teespring.com and go to the Belsaverse store. And also I'm going to start a new promotion probably within the next week, so you can probably get like 20% off of apparel. Put a new promo code in there. So like I said, go in there and get yourself some gear, man. And also our other sponsor.
If you like hookers, if you like the U.S., you're going to love U.S. Hooker. It's a rugby store, so get your mind out of the gutter, folks. That's a different part of the internet. But jump in there, get some awesome gear. We are officially inside the final countdown to the kickoff for Major League Rugby 2020 season. We got some new teams starting this year. If you've never watched rugby before, go on the U.S. Hooker Facebook page. You can check it out. You can see it's real. Your wife, your girl, nobody's going to get upset at you because it's not what you think it is. We're having a lot of fun with this awesome sport. You're going to watch some guys beat the ever-loving hell out of each other. If you like MMA, you're going to like it. If you like football, you're going to like it. We'll tell you everything you need to know to understand the game. You'll figure it out short and sweet, to the point, and you're going to have a hell of a lot of fun, and you're going to wear some T-shirts that'll be out there, conversation starter. Because that's what we're about, conversation.
Yeah, actually, he is right. It's not exactly what you think it is. He told me about it the first time. I was super excited, but then he actually showed it to me. I was like, this is cool, but where's the actual thing you were telling me you were going to show? Where's the hookers? No, these are hookers. Oh, it's a position. Okay, it's not the position.
Rugby's great.
It's not the position I was hoping for, but yeah.
You have hookers. You have props.
Yeah.
You have halfbacks. I mean, it's fantastic. And if you like football, you're going to love it because, to kind of rip off a meme, rugby says to football, I am your father.
That's a rugby fan, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, we're geeks. Go with it.
Damn right. All right, so folks, usually we have our segments, 7 Degrees of Eddie Murphy and what would Busey say, but we're going to go ahead and forego those this particular week, just for this week.
7 Degrees needs to stick. We'll skip on because I actually have 2 this week coming in from In Living Color.
Seriously?
I do.
Okay.
It's going to be really easy.
All right. Oh, well, I stand corrected. So we're doing 7 Degrees of Eddie Murphy. So
got it.
you know what? Fuck it. Let's go ahead and knock it out right now.
All right, Damon Wayans.
Dude, that's ridiculously easy.
Dude, we're doing 7 Degrees of Separation. We got to do it.
Damon Wayans is in Beverly Hills Cop with Eddie Murphy. One fucking movie.
All right, fine. Ace Ventura. I'm sorry, Jim Carrey from Ace Ventura.
Ace Ventura.
Yeah. Hey, I was reading a lot.
Ace Ventura from Ace Ventura. Okay, I'll go ahead and go with Jim Carrey. I'll go with Jim Carrey, not going through the Damon Wayans route.
All right.
Okay, so Jim Carrey was in. Let's see if I can find a really good one. I'll go this route. Okay. Jim Carrey was in Batman Forever with Tommy Lee Jones. Tommy Lee Jones was in Men in Black. Tommy Lee Jones was in Men in Black with Will Smith. Will Smith was in Ali with Jada Pinkett. Jada Pinkett was in The Nutty Professor with Eddie Murphy.
Jennifer Lopez.
There we go. Even better one. Jennifer Lopez was in the movie Money Train with Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes is in Dolomite Is My Name with Eddie Murphy. That's 3 right there.
All right, that works.
I killed him.
See, this is why I didn't want to lose it, man. Mm-hmm. This is, and even though I fucked it up saying Ace Ventura when I meant Jim Carrey, I got that. Dude, we'll get into it in a minute.
You know what?
But the behind the scenes of what was going on and the way the guys were busting his balls when he's staying up all night with Steve Odekirk, this is going to be a good one.
It's right.
It's going to be a really good one.
Yes, it is. Ace Ventura, which is still my favorite Jim Carrey movie.
Dude,
to this day.
Fantastic.
Very close second will probably be Me, Myself, and Irene. I love that movie.
You know what? If I'm going to go with my second, you're going to hate me for it. It's The Mask. And it's because it was honestly, I saw it in reverse order. I saw that, then I saw Ace Ventura 2, then I saw Ace Ventura 1. Ace Ventura 1's my favorite. The Mask, and then Ace Ventura 2.
How would you like me to make your life a living hell? Well, I'm not really looking for a relationship right now, but thank you for asking. That's my favorite line for that movie.
Dude, it's fantastic.
Yeah. All right, so we go ahead and knock that out. Let's go ahead and go into dropping that news.
Dropping that news.
All right, so the biggest news that happened this past week, the 2020 Golden Globes happened this past Sunday. It was hosted by Ricky Gervais. I think a lot of Twitter has been blowing up right now because apparently Ricky Gervais went the fuck in on Hollywood's Elite.
Well, it was basically a snuff film, and he was snuffing himself in his career, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, you can't take a shit on Amazon, Disney, and Apple in front of the entire damn world
and expect to get
work on a movie anytime soon.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, the public response has been, for the most part, people seem to love it. Everyone from the industry seems to hate it. So,
yeah,
caught up. That's the news.
Yeah, like me and AJ have actually discussed this. I personally do not find Ricky Gervais to be that funny. I just have my reasons. AJ loves him because of the fact he's a fan of like the original Office.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, loves him might be a little bit extreme, but I think it's pretty funny. I enjoy that type of awkward comedy. That's the same reason why, even though I know at some point, in fact, I'll tell you about it later. I had a fucking nightmare about this. I'm sure I'm going to end up having to pay the piper. I like watching somebody die on stage. That awkward moment where the other person is super uncomfortable. I think it's hilarious. Yeah.
I've experienced it. It sucks.
As a stand-up, I wouldn't say that he's even my top 10. Like he's all right. The more funny thing to me was watching Adam Driver being the only person in the room laughing his ass off.
I saw that one meme.
As everybody else is just like, what do we do?
Like it was a bunch of like.
And you know what? I mean, he said some stuff that maybe it resonates, maybe it doesn't, but. Yeah. Well, anyway, watch it for yourself.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and go through the list of the winners. So first off is best performance by an actor on a TV series, musical, or comedy. The winner was a dude named Rami Youssef. Never heard of him?
Yeah, Rami.
He has a show, Rami. I've never heard of him.
Yeah, I mean, it's out there. I haven't watched it, but I'm aware of it.
Okay. Winner for Best Actress in the same catempory would be Phoebe Waller-Bridge for the show Fleabag. I know that
I think I've heard of it. Yeah,
it swept the Emmys this past year. I remember that.
Is that an Amazon show?
I believe so. It's like British show because I know I saw like advertisement for it, and the other guy in is Andrew Scott, who's like Moriarty from that Sherlock series.
Oh, okay.
So I do remember seeing something about it, but apparently it's getting a lot of traction right now. Now, best performance by an actor in a television series for a drama went to Brian Cox for Succession. I've always been a big fan of Brian Cox.
Yeah, he's killer.
First thing I ever saw him in, to be honest with you, was X2, X-Men United. He was a striker, the bad guy. So that's the first thing I really remember seeing him in. And I think he's also in the Bourne movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's in the Bourne movies, so yeah, he's a great actor.
Yeah, he's solid.
Best actress in the same category went to Olivia Colman for The Crown.
Yeah, I'm aware of it, but I don't tend to watch those. Like, you kind of lose me when you start getting into royalty. I mean, you know, I'm Irish American. I don't really care about all that other shit.
Likewise. Best performance by an actor in a limited series or motion picture made for television. Russell Crowe for The Loudest Voice. I think he's like playing like Rupert Murdoch.
I have no idea. I didn't even hear that one.
I think that's what it is. Like he's like in extensive like makeup and stuff. So
okay,
yeah. So
well, you know, hey, good for him.
Yeah. Best performance by an actress in the same category. Michelle Williams for Fosse Verdon. I believe it's like probably about like Bob Fosse.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, but I like Michelle Williams. She's cool.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong there.
Yeah. Best limited television. Best television limited series or motion picture made for television is kind of redundant. Chernobyl.
Yeah,
from HBO.
They killed it this year.
I've heard like a lot of great things about the show. I've yet to watch it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Best performance by an actress in a supporting role in a series of limited series or motion picture made for TV. Patricia Arquette for The Act.
Which, did you see her acceptance speech or hear any of it?
Yeah, I saw her.
She was a little bit out there, dude.
Yeah, she was out.
I'm wondering,
she was out there in terms of her speech and out there in terms of her dress.
See, I didn't see that part. I just actually got to hear it more. Well, and the other part everyone was saying was, I guess she's still wearing sunglasses the whole time she was up there, and it sounded like her pupils were probably gigantic.
Something else was gigantic too.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So, best performance by an actor in the same category went to Stellan Skarsgård for Chernobyl.
Okay.
Another Chernobyl winner.
Yeah.
Best television series drama went to Succession. Best television series comedy went to Fleabag. Again, I think the same thing as swept the Emmy, so it's sweeping the Golden Globes. Best motion picture musical or comedy, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's movie.
See, and that's another one of those ones where with the Globes, I gotta go. How the hell are they categorizing things? It's like when The Martian won.
Yeah, it's not a comedy. Yeah, I don't.
Or a musical.
Yeah, I don't see why they.
I don't know why they have this categorization issue. Mm-hmm. Either that, or they think what we think is drama is hilarious as hell.
Funny enough, all the other things in this category actually fit the category. This is the only one that stands out. Like,
it's so weird the way they do that shit.
Yeah, the other ones are Jojo Rabbit, Knives Out, which I've heard a lot of good things about. Knives Out.
I haven't seen either of them.
Rocket Man, the Elton John movie, and Dolomite Is My Name.
Yeah, but Rocket Man's that'd be a musical. Then,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
and Dolomite is a comedy.
Exactly, it fits. Yeah, so whatever.
Well, they couldn't let Eddie win.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, best motion picture drama was the one I told you about, 1917.
Yep.
I told you.
From the little bits I've been able to see, because I wasn't as well connected as you to have seen an early copy. Mm-hmm. It looks fantastic. Like, it's top of my list for must see in the theater.
It is. It's great. It is absolutely great. I definitely suggest you check it out. Best motion picture foreign language, Parasite. Don't know who did that.
Yeah. It's a Korean film. I did see about it. Won. I think it actually won Cannes, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's supposed to be pretty fantastic. It's actually like a war between the classes. Essentially, it's about somebody who's going to work for a wealthy family, and there's this. It's one of those classical kind of dramas, something like that. Fish out of water kind of a thing. Okay. But they said it did fantastic. It's on again my watch list.
Yeah, I think it won a couple other awards. When we get to that, best screenplay motion picture, Quentin Tarantino for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Best original song, I'm Gonna Love Me Again from Rocket Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it must have been a little expensive to get
yeah.
his actual songs.
This one you'll like. Best original score motion picture, Joker won.
Yep.
For best original score.
This is a great film.
Best actor in a supporting role in... Is that the actual category? Best actor in a supporting role in any motion picture. I guess.
Dude, when it comes to the Globes and the Hollywood, I mean, just let it go, dude.
It's weird.
The Hollywood Foreign Press can do what they do.
Yeah, but the winner was Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah, he was great in that movie. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Best actress in the same category, Laura Dern for Marriage Story. I've heard a lot of mixed things about this show.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
It's on Netflix. It's like Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson in there. You know, it's like
Okay.
I think a lot of people are comparing it to like Kramer versus Kramer. Or
Oh,
something
okay.
like one of those type of movies. Best actor in a motion picture musical comedy went to Taron Egerton for Rocket Man. Like I said, this is a disappointment to me because I thought Eddie Murphy should have won. That's just me.
Yep.
Best motion picture animated, Missing Link. That I think they had is like a Yeti movie. Like it was one of those like Pixar and
Yeah.
So good for them. Best actor in a motion picture drama, Joaquin Phoenix, Joker.
Yep.
And I saw his
He slayed that.
I saw his acceptance. He was so weird, but it's so him.
Yeah.
It's
Well, I
perfect.
mean, that's kind of what he does.
It's perfect for him. It's definitely perfect for him. Best actress in a drama, same category. Renee Zellweger for Judy, because the whole Judy Garland thing she did, and I saw the stills of her in that movie. She looks just like Judy Garland.
Yeah, it was a great transformation.
Yeah, man, good for her. Best actress in a motion picture, musical or comedy, Awkwafina for The Farewell.
And actually, my wife was huge on that one. She has it's a smaller role, but a great role in Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing I remember her from.
Yeah, well, that was her real breakout. 'Cause she'd been doing, I think, like a lot of YouTube stuff, comedy stuff off to the side. And now she's finally breaking in. She's a killer actress.
Yeah, I give her props for that. Best director, Sam Mendes, 1917.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. And I believe that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all of them. All right, cool.
Well, I mean, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association doesn't really get into editing and technical stuff as much. That's just not their bag.
Thank God. Oh yeah, I think there was a couple of like honorary awards. The Carol Burnett Award went to Ellen DeGeneres. I believe it's like for excellence in television or something like that.
I mean, it makes sense. She basically picked up for Oprah where Oprah left off, and she's got that on lockdown for daytime TV.
And they also gave like the big like Lifetime Achievement Award to Tom Hanks. I forgot the name of it, but yeah.
Oh yeah. I saw him up on stage. Mm-hmm. He was crying. He was talking to his family.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah,
his wife, his mom.
It was touching.
Yeah, it was good for Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Man. I always love Tom Hanks, man.
And the good news is, as of today, I'm pretty sure we got everything out of the hotel over there finally.
Nice.
Back to business as usual.
Very nice. All right, so we got that out the way. Like I said, that's pretty much the big thing in terms of news.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else in terms of entertainment at the moment.
Not really, no. Let's get into this thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
In living color, you can do what you want to do.
Oh, so where do you want to start?
Let's start with the creator of the show, Keenan Ivory Wayans. As I refer to him, the first Wayans. Because he was the first Wayans.
And you know what?
Yeah.
He's 61, 62 now, I think.
Looks fantastic.
Seriously.
He looks fantastic. Yeah,
Has not aged past about 40.
Yeah, he's been on that vegan living shit for like, I think at least 10, 20 years.
Everybody's got a different makeup. Whatever he's doing, it works.
That's right.
He needs to keep it up.
Exactly. So, but like I said, Keenan Ivory Wayans was the first of the Wayans family to break out. He started out as a comedian in the late 70s. He actually went to college at the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. Mm-hmm. And while he was there, he was kind of like the entertainment guy for the campus and whatnot. Actually, a lot of this information we're giving you, at least from my perspective, is going to be from a really great interview he gave for the Archive of American Television.
Okay.
Yeah, he gave a lot of insight in terms of, this is like maybe just a few years ago, he gave a lot of insight into the show and how it got started. But like I said, he was in the Tuskegee Institute. He was like the New York guy. Everybody loved to hear his crazy stories about New York. And then a friend down there suggested to him, hey, you should try stand-up. I'm like, okay. And then come to find out, the club that he suggested Keenan go to was like a mile from his house in New York. So he went all the way to Alabama to learn about a place that was literally a mile from his house.
Just down the road.
Road.
It's weird how that stuff works out sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, he went in there, he came into this stand-up scene in New York, and he started around the same time as Eddie Murphy, Robert Townsend, Jerry Seinfeld, Bill Burr was one he named, Larry David.
Yep.
They were all, doing stand-up around the same time in New York, and they were very protective of each other. And Keenan was kind of like one of the enforcers in terms of like, the big taboo comedians stealing other jokes and shit.
Yeah.
So Keenan was one of the ones that would go to a comedian like, hey, the joke he did about whatever, you can't do that. Jerry Seinfeld does that. He was one of the main ones that did that shit.
Well, I mean, that's the way it's gotta be. You have to have something like that to enforce it, or you end up with a Carlos Mencia situation.
Plus, he of the group that he named, he's the biggest and most physically intimidating. He was like 6'4" back then. So
Yeah, I mean, he basically, if you look at some of the old stuff, the only other person I could think of I've seen in modern times who was built like that maybe be Charlie Murphy.
maybe, yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. But like Keenan's
And Keenan's taller than Charlie was.
yeah, he's like 6'4". Yeah,
He's a mountain of a man.
yes, he is. But Keenan got very popular as a stand-up. He did the Tonight Show in 1982. He talks about that experience, and I love how he talks about like he was so nervous and he was like racked with nerves because like he had been watching the Tonight Show with his grandfather for years and years as a kid, and he literally would watch it with his grandfather sitting on his lap until he got too big to be on his lap anymore. And he always watched the whole thing with the comedian of the night. And that was of that generation where if you're a comedian and you go on the Tonight Show, change your life.
Well, and I mean, honestly, up until probably the last 10, maybe 15 years, it was the Tonight Show, and then a little bit later, the Late Show with David Letterman.
Yeah.
If you were on either one of those, that was what was going to make it or break it for you. That was going to be your breakout moment. If you came out and you were a star, and even going a little deeper on the Johnny side, the way you could tell if you were going to make it as a comedian, if you really had the blessing, is if Johnny gave you that, come on over to the couch.
Come on over and talk to me.
If Johnny brought you over to the couch,
You're made, bro.
you're in.
You're in. And he said it wasn't an immediate change in terms of his career, but it did put him in a different class of comedians.
Yep.
Like that people saw him for other things. He got a lot more work in terms of TV and stuff, which I'm going to go into a little bit later. But his main thing at the time was his partnerships that he had with his friends, in particular a little group of friends that was referred to in the Hollywood trades as the Black Pack. And that Black Pack has some pretty heavy hitters in it. Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall, Robert Townsend, and Keenan Ivory Wayans. That was the Black Pack. And then peripherally, apparently Paul Mooney.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, funny enough, Pee Wee Herman on his Instagram actually has a plaque that was actually given to him as an honorary member of the Black Pack. it's young Pee Wee with the plaque, and then you see, I think you see
that's awesome.
It's with him in Arsenio Hall. I was like, wow, okay, but yeah, they,
That was before they learned a thing or two about him.
Oh yeah, sure. We'll get into that a little bit later.
You can wait for us to talk about it, or you can always Google.
No, actually, funny enough, that's actually a skit on it in Living Color. We're gonna get to that a little bit later. Yeah, exactly. But like I said, these were the young black enterprising comedians out there. They were the ones that were kind of breaking out. Of course, the first one of the pack to break out was Eddie. Eddie became a huge star very quickly of the group, and then right after that would be Arsenio, because he was getting popular as a comedian. But the breakout for Arsenio was they had that Joan Rivers talk show, that was on Fox, the one that Johnny Carson pretty much ostracized her for doing whatever. Well, actually, she left that show, and they had a bunch of guest hosts for a little bit. I think Alan Thicke did it for a little bit. Pat Sajak did it for a little bit. And
this is like turning into a Family Guy's cutaway.
Yeah, exactly. And then Arsenio Hall did it, but the ratings were best with Arsenio, and it eventually became the Arsenio Hall Show, and that became the hot talk show of the late '80s, early '90s. Everybody who was anybody was on the Arsenio Hall Show.
Help me with the timeline. Was that before or after Coming to America? I think that was after, wasn't it?
Just a little bit after.
Okay, because that's what I was going to say. I think that's what got him in.
Yeah. I mean, he did Coming to America, and he was very popular. But when he got to the talk show, he was popular from Coming to America. But the talk show is kind of what solidified him.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, that's what gave him, and that was honestly the most disappointing part when they brought back his show. They put him on a shitty time slot.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, as we all know, they canceled it.
Yeah. And then the next of the pack to break out was actually Robert Townsend.
Yeah.
Now, Robert Townsend broke out in part due to Keenan Ivory Wayans because of the fact they were writing partners.
Yep.
And the first movie they worked on together, Hollywood Shuffle, which is still one of the best.
Oh, it's killer.
One of the best satirical movies ever made.
It's killer.
It's basically showing like a young black actor struggling out here in Hollywood with the stereotypes that perpetrate Hollywood in terms of black actors.
Yep.
Street pimps and slaves and things of that nature, but doing it in a hilarious, satirical way. And you seeing him wanting to do the movies he wants to do. He wants to do like private eye movies. He wants to do superhero movies. He wants to do action movies, just like all the other well-known white actors. And then like this one great scene in the movie where it's like he's at an audition, and all the actors are looking for is an Eddie Murphy type.
Yeah.
And then But he keeps trying to resist it. But like the more he goes into the audition, he keeps doing the Eddie Murphy laugh. He can't help it. Like it's crazy, but it's such a brilliant movie. But like I said, co-written by Keenan Ivory Wayans, who actually appears in the movie in multiple roles. My favorite role that he plays in the movie is Jerry Curl, the the villain in the Private Eye thing.
Yeah.
And with the
Well, because it's a toss up. It's a toss up between Soul Glow.
Yeah.
And
Jerry
shit. Well, yeah, but what was that? I can't remember the name of the character. He's the one pimp in Black Dynamite.
One pimp.
Yeah. When he's not the one. I don't think he's the one who says. It's not the one who says that I sell
drugs in the community.
Drugs in the community, but it's one of the other guys who's in there. He's got the Jerry curl and the whole fucking thing going. I swear to God, when I saw it, I thought that's what he was doing was like an impression or a throwback or like a nod to that. It was great. You gotta. We'll watch it again.
I will watch it again.
We're gonna do a watch along, but it's gonna be the best episode because we're just not gonna say shit. We're just gonna sit there and laugh our asses off because there's nothing to say. Michael J. White put it all on the screen.
Yes, he did. Yeah. All right, but going back to Hollywood Shuffle, like I said, it was a very successful movie, financed entirely by credit cards, which is amazing.
Yep.
Apparently, Robert Townsend had fantastic credit because he applied for all these different credit cards, got approved, and used said credit cards to finance this movie.
Well, it's a combination of good credit, and it was a little bit before they started having this Insta credit check thing, so it'd take them a second to catch up on you.
Also, the fact that they also had no filming permits, so they would basically filming all over Los Angeles. They would have somebody on the lookout, making sure no cops was around, and they would make this movie.
So if you get out of LA, you end up in places where people offer, like they'll say, "Oh, I can't afford to pay you to shoot a movie here." At LA, you're constantly on the lookout and trying to figure out who's picking my pocket next to be able to shoot here.
Exactly.
That's the sad part about it. But they got it done, and it's a hell of a film.
Yeah, but like I said, it's a fantastic movie, and like I said, of the two, the one that really got the credit for the movie was Robert. And Robert parlayed that into a pretty good career. And actually, him and Keenan continue to work together on several other projects. Yep. They worked together on Eddie Murphy Raw. They did the opening sequence where it's like Eddie Murphy's family.
Yeah, as a little kid.
Little Eddie. Keenan wrote that. Yeah.
Which is great.
And Robert directed Raw. And then the other movie that they did is kind of the projects they've done is kind of lasted the test of time, especially with black audiences, the 5 Heartbeats.
Yep.
They're basically their musical movie that they did, very musical drama pretty much. And like that's one of those like cookout, family gathering type movies. Like whenever like it's a black gathering, somebody got the 5 Heartbeats on because it's just one of those movies. They know the songs, you know all the routines. You know they've seen it a million times, but they watch it like it's like it's the first time every time.
Yep.
So like I said, there's been like anniversaries now for the 5 Heartbeats. It's still a great movie.
It's killer.
Yeah, like I said, all this was happening. Robert was getting the credit, and Keenan's like, you know what? It's my time.
Yeah.
It's time I did something. So the thing that he did was write his own movie, which was I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, the genesis of I'm Gonna Get You Sucker actually came from another Black Pack member, Mr. Eddie Murphy. They were just riffing at Eddie's house, just having fun, and Eddie brought up that whole concept like, wouldn't it be great if we did a movie that like made fun of those old blaxploitation movies? You know, put this in the movie, put that in the movie, and then Eddie even said the title. He said, "I'm gonna get you, sucker!" Like just to play around with it. Now, like I said, during this time, all this is happening with Eddie being successful, Arsenio being successful, Robert being successful, and Keenan was like, "Hey, I should have my own little thing on." Hey, he talked to Eddie. He's like, "Hey, man, that I'm gonna get you sucker thing. Were you gonna do something with that?" And Eddie was like, "Nah, man. Like, you mind if I do something?" Like, no, like, go ahead, do your thing, man. Like, and that was the beginning. That was the genesis.
That was his big breakout.
Keenan sat down and wrote it himself, and he directed it himself. He got the financing for it. Went out and shot it. It's a brilliant satire of the blaxploitation genre. Like I said, it's the first.
It might be the first satire of blaxploitation.
Yes.
Because I was going back through and I was looking at, because there's been several iterations ever since then, but I think he was the first one to actually sit down and make a satire of that whole genre.
Yeah, it's actually probably the first. It's definitely the first black one. I know that because, like, you know, those spoofs and satire movies have been around for a minute. You know, Airplane and The Naked Gun and Top Secret and all those movies.
But none of those were about specifically black exploitation.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. This is the first satire of black exploitation.
I'm agreeing with you on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but yeah, it was.
It's a killer film.
Yeah, it's definitely unique in its own right.
That's an understatement, but yeah.
But yeah, Keenan in the movie plays this army guy. Jack Spade comes home to fight this epidemic of gold chains infecting the streets, mainly because of the fact his brother dies of gold. OG. He OG'd over gold because he just dies in gold. He dies surrounded in gold chains. And I love the recurring joke throughout the movie when they see the body of him like covered in gold chains. They keep saying like, how do you go to the bathroom with all that stuff on? Yeah, it's so silly, man.
Oh, it's killer.
Yeah, and then like all the different people that he has to help him are like, you know, old school blaxploitation actors. So they got Bernie Casey, Isaac Hayes, Jim Brown. They did have a kung fu guy, Steve James, who did do some blaxploitation movies, but he was basically doing a ripoff of Jim Kelly, Black Belt Jones. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
Jim Kelly. Apparently, Jim Kelly didn't do the movie. I don't know why the fuck Jim Kelly didn't do the movie. He should have. But yeah, Steve James is basically Kung Fu Joe. Yeah, and I love he like brought out a Bruce Lee. He brought out a Bruce Lee picture. Teacher. Wow, Bruce Lee was your teacher? Was your martial art teacher? No, acting. But yeah, and then I love the one good question they have when they all meet and they meet Jack for the first time and all the old blaxploitation heroes. They look at Jack. It's like, okay, let me ask you a question. What qualifies you to be a black action hero? And he stops and thinks about it. He's like, I'm an ex-football player. He just shuts everything down. Like, they're like, you got a basketball? Like, yep. That's pretty much all you need to be.
Well, it actually, think about a timeline. I mean, that's when OJ's careers, I think he just left the NFL, I think, about the time this came out, didn't he?
No, he'd been gone. He'd been out for a minute.
What I'm saying, what I'm saying is he's into acting at that point,
yes,
right?
Yes, he was.
Because it's him and Jim Brown.
Yeah, he had like I remember he had a show on HBO. I think it's like First and 10.
Because I can't remember what was it like. It was 80s, right? When he quit football.
Yeah.
Okay.
He retired and went in the Hall of Fame and all that shit around the 80s. And he's big into acting. He did a bunch of different projects. He was in The Naked Gun, all that shit.
No, that's a great line hitting on what's happening in the current day.
Hitting on the head. But it has so many great, black actors on the come up in that movie. Most of the Wayans, a lot of the Wayans are in the movie. Damon's in the movie. Kim is in the movie. And film debut of Sean and Marlon is in this movie.
Yep.
As extras. They're both extras in the movie.
Well, that was something he did a lot with them. In fact, we'll get into a little more when we get into Living Color, but they were either PAs or they were extras or little bit parts here and there on the show.
Yeah, he was getting the family in there, man.
Yep.
Yes, he was, man. But while this was happening, his own little brother was kind of forging his own path. Damon.
Yep.
Damon Wayans.
He was out there. He was slaying it on the stand-up circuit.
Debuted in '82. Became one of the hottest, most high-profile young black comedians out there, man. He was like, I remember like watching our Arsenio Hall show with Eddie Murphy, and like Eddie Murphy had quit doing stand-up, and they kept asking him like, why aren't you doing stand-up anymore? It's like, man, it's like freaking there's so many good comedians out there. The first one he said, and the one that intimidated him the most was Damon Wayans. And that's how good Damon Wayans was. And I've seen a couple old clips of Damon Wayans. He was a monster, bro.
Okay, I gotta stop you and correct you.
Yeah.
I still think he is a monster.
Yeah, but it was specifically back then, he was just like...
I mean, the hunger and the speed and everything. I mean, look, it's a different speed now because... Yeah. I hate to put it that way, but he's kind of like in that dad mode of comedy where it's like he's distinguished enough.
Yes.
That it changes his pace and his style just a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. But I get what you're saying. I mean, it was like Mike Tyson at 19 coming out, but the stand-up version. You're just like, holy shit.
Yeah. Just a quick little sidebar. Yeah, we're going to go into Damon. We'll go back to Keenan, but we're going to go into Damon for a little bit. Because Damon, like I mentioned before, he was in Beverly Hills Cop, the first one. He was the banana man. Pizzas, plums, oranges, the bananas. Well, I need a couple bananas. Here, take those bananas. And that was actually his credit in the movie, Banana Man. And but he got really popular off of that. And then his popularity led him to a very brief stint on Saturday Night Live, which is kind of one of the catalysts for Living Color, his brief stint on SNL. Because Damon got on there and was pretty much underutilized. They didn't really do anything with him.
I mean, you know how he got fired, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. But like, what they would do is he basically just be in the background in a lot of skits. They never really gave him a lead thing.
Yeah, he never got a skit that was his.
No,
every
never.
sketch,
Yeah.
every sketch that he had,
Yeah.
he was always an also played.
Exactly. Yeah, he's just a featured player pretty much. And what got him fired? We're gonna talk about it. What got him fired from SNL? Excuse me. Was I think he's like 11 episodes in, and there was one particular skit where he was supposed to just play a cop in the background and have one little line. But the thing about it is he played the cop as effeminate, like pretty much a gay cop.
Yeah.
Which was funnier, but not what they wanted.
Well, he essentially, what they officially said for why they let him go was because he ad-libbed a line. Mm-hmm. That was the way they decided to describe it. So basically what they're hitting him was, you didn't play what we wanted you to play, you were too rogue, and so that's why I dropped him. Basically.
And then, of course, Keenan being his brother's like, no, you're making a huge mistake. He's probably the best guy you got on that cast. Yeah. And it was a stacked cast. Like, it was like right after like the Eddie Murphy years. So if you really think about it, Damon is the first black comedian to really catch the specter of Eddie Murphy. Because, like, every black comedian, male comedian that's been on SNL since Eddie Murphy, at one point, they have said, is this guy going to be the next Eddie Murphy?
Yep.
That's the one thing they've always asked. Pretty much nobody's touched him.
Got it yet.
Nobody's touched him. A lot of people have gone on to have great careers, particularly Chris Rock and Tracy Morgan, guys like that were on there.
And look, as we're talking about Damon Wayans, it's one of the biggest mistakes they ever made.
Yes, it was.
They lost Damon.
Yes, he was. Exactly. So, yeah, he pretty much left SNL, went on, did his own thing. Like I said, Keenan was doing I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. Damon is in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. He's one of the main henchmen in the movie. He has a lot of hilarious lines in the movie. And like I said, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker came out initially. Now, the fact is, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker was actually not supposed to see the light of day, according to Keenan. They the actual company that had the movie had a video deal, and it was supposed to make a certain amount of content to satisfy this video deal. I'm Gonna Get You Sucker was supposed to be one of those movies to go in that deal that was like straight to video type shit. You know what I'm saying? But
it was never slated for theatrical.
No, but Keenan, being Keenan, got the balls to say, "Hey, you're not gonna shelve this movie. No, we're not doing that." And they're like, why should we listen to you? Like, because of the fact there hasn't been a black movie in years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now think about this. What if there were no white movies? Now, what if one movie comes out? Wouldn't you go see it just because of the fact you haven't seen yourself in years?
Yep.
And that was his reasoning behind, pushing I'm Gonna Get You Sucker for a theatrical release. They did do a theatrical release for I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, but they did it in markets that were not the big markets. So it was like 5 markets. Neither one of them were New York or L.A.
Yeah.
And
they're all small market, second or third tier.
And they also put them against Twins.
Yeah.
With Schwarzenegger and DeVito. But funny enough, box office comes in, Twins number 1, I'm Gonna Get You Sucker number 2, despite the markets that it's in.
Yep.
So they do another test to see if this should really get the big wide release or whatever. So they put it in another market against January Man with Kevin Kline, made by the same company. They put those two movies out. They put the January Man movie in like 1,500 theaters. They put I'm Gonna Get You Sucker in like 200. Again, box office comes in. January Man, 1,000,009. I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, 1,000,006. With ridiculously, like I said, 1,500 theaters versus like 200 theaters.
Yep.
And then there's like, you know what?
We'll give it a wide.
We're going to give it a wide. And they put the January Man shit into that fucking video deal.
Yep.
Yeah. And that was the one that really broke out Keenan. I remember I looked on YouTube. There's like old clips of him on like Soul Train promoting it. And he was everywhere. He was on talk shows.
Look,
like
he's always been a worker. Exactly.
He got his moment. This is his moment now. Like, yeah, like it's about me now. You know what I'm saying? And then as that success was going on, some of the executives over at Fox had a screening of I'm Gonna Get You Sucker.
Well, so what it was it was actually an industry screening. Mm-hmm. So they had people coming from lots of different like Warner's guys, like all these guys that basically work in distribution and sales. They all came out to see it. Mm-hmm. Now, for whatever reason, the guys at Fox Motion Picture
Didn't show.
but the guys from Fox Television did.
Yeah, that's right.
And so they ended up giving him a call a little bit later, saying, "Hey, would you come in for a meeting?" And so he figured maybe, at least from what I've seen in his interviews, maybe we're going to sit down and they're going to talk to me about, hey, we talked to the guys over in the movie side and they've got a movie thing for it, because he was never really big on TV.
No, it was not.
So I'll let you jump in from here. But
Yeah. Now, before we really get into that, there was sort of a precursor to In Living Color on HBO. Robert Townsend and His Partners in Crime, written by Robert and Keenan. And basically it was a series of HBO specials, 1 hour HBO specials, spilled around Robert Townsend as the host, the MC and whatnot. But a good majority of the cast of In Living Color were featured in these particular specials. Keenan, Damon, Kim, Sean, and Marlon, actually. Same thing as extras. And then another woman who actually become a cast member, Anne Marie Johnson. She was the main squeeze in Hollywood Shuffle. She was in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. She's the chick with Jack has like a little liaison in the bar with a sexy chick or whatever, and she's like I need a man with like 12 inches and shit like that. and they have a little thing. They go back to her place and they start making out. And then Jack's like, I got a confession to make. I don't have 12 inches. Like, oh, I appreciate how free you are. Like, I got a confession to make too. This is not my natural eye color. She takes out the contacts and like, okay. He's like, okay, cool. Hey, guess what? This ain't my real hair either. She takes off the wig. She has no hair, and the little scant amount of hair she has is like a little bow tie, a little tie right here. And then the more she takes off more
it's
and
just
more
getting
stuff.
worse and worse.
Yeah, it's
and
like,
worse.
okay, so I don't have these great bras, these great bosoms of mine, fake. This luscious ass, fake. And guess what? And she has like one leg. And then he's just like completely just mortified by, oh my God, this is disgusting.
It just gets more and more ridiculous.
And she's like, oh, I'm so happy, right? I'm like, I gotta go. Wait, where you going? Where you going? And she's
hobbling.
Don't let me come after you. That's so fucked up. It's so funny. But she was that girl. She's also in Partners in Crime.
Yeah.
And like I said, the Partners in Crime specials were very successful.
Yeah.
Like I said, not even just the Wayans family. Tommy Davidson does stand up on one. David Allen Greer is in a couple of them. Like, yeah, they kind of, it's like I said, like a little precursor to In Living Color on these little specials and stuff. So, like I said, going back to the story where the Fox executives meet Keenan. Now, they talked to him and said, hey, we like your movie. You did a fantastic job with it. We want to give you a TV show, okay? And this is the kicker. They told him specifically, you can do what you want to do.
Well, at the time, from what I saw in the interview with the executive, Garth Ansier, they had their cork board up, because back in the days, everything was done with cork board when they're setting out the schedule for the week, whatever, on the board. Because you got to remember, too, Fox at this point, to call them a network's a bit generous. They were nothing more than an upstart. They were just trying to figure out how to get something with something. Basically, think of them as Netflix 5-6 years ago at a minminimum.
They were the newbies.
They were trying to figure this shit out, and so they had this idea they were calling the Black Laugh-In. He swears to God, that's what was on the board. And so they said, we want you to take this, and they said, look, we're going to let you do whatever you want to do.
Really?
Within the certain amount of reason. Because, I mean, there was obvious in the room. It's like, look, we got an FCC license.
Yeah.
So there's going to be something. But short of that, whatever you want to do.
But, like, the whole thing, one thing they kept telling them, we really want you to push the edge.
Yes. Push the edge.
That's what they were telling him initially. And he's like, okay.
Well, no, I mean, that's what all the executives and these interviews and stuff I've seen and read, that's what they all said. Yeah. That was why they wanted him. They needed edgy because... Yeah. How else are you going to get eyeballs?
Yeah. So...
we put on I Love Lucy reruns?
Exactly. So Keenan gets this idea, gets this germ of an idea, and of course, like, it pretty much turns into, I want to do a black SNL. And then he's thinking about, of course, his brother's misfortune that happened at SNL. And Damon, of all the In Living Color cast members, is the very first recruit.
Yep.
He's like, fuck, I got the hottest comedian in the country right now, and he happens to be my fucking brother.
Yeah.
Like, he's in. That's the guy I wanted. I got him. Now, in terms of the name of the show, I read somewhere the original name of the show was at one point considered to be Whiteout. I was like, wow, really?
That's pretty great.
Whatever. But the actual name In Living Color, a lot of people don't know where that came from. He was actually inspired, another NBC thing.
Yep.
Yeah, the promos that they had for NBC back in the day. You're now watching, this program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
Yep. They snagged it right out of there, lifted it up.
In living color. That's where the name In Living Color came from.
Well, it makes the thing I like about that makes a lot of sense, is really cool about it. In my mind, I can see him. I mean, not as a kid necessarily, not like 5, 6 years old, because color was coming along a little bit later. But I can see him as like an impressionable, like juvenile adolescent.
Yeah.
Watching that shit. Mm-hmm. That's something that sticks in your head, man.
That's right.
I mean, that's fantastic, and I love that. Honestly, TV basically gave back to itself.
Exactly. So, let's go into a little bit into the actual casting of In Living Color. Now, we already said the first recruit, the very first cast member ever cast for In Living Color was Damon Wayans.
What's crazy is as we're getting into this,
Yeah.
this was a slaughter. There's going to be names we're going to drop. You're going to be like,
my God.
how did they miss out on it?
Yeah, but then through Damon, we got Jim Carrey.
Yep, he brought him in.
Exactly, because they did a movie together. Earth Girls Are Easy.
Yeah. Well, and they knew each other from the stand-up circuit.
Yeah.
Because if you watch any of the early Jim Carrey stand-up,
Yeah.
he is, like we said before on an earlier episode, he is one of, if not the most physical comedian, at least out there today, if not ever.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff that he can contort his face and his body into, and that's just something when you're going to do a sketch show, you got to have that.
But think about Jim at the time. Jim was probably one of the more established actors to be put on In Living Color, because at that point Jim was an impressionist. He had been on Vegas. He had been on the Tonight Show.
He'd been around.
Yeah, he'd been around. He'd done movies. He actually starred in a couple movies. He had his own series for a little bit, The Duck Factory.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, The Duck Factory was I think it lasted maybe 2 or 3 episodes.
YouTube it.
Yeah, exactly. But Jim Carrey plays this cartoonist at a cartoon company. He creates this popular character, and it's pretty much just the misadventures of him and the staff. That's pretty much The Duck Factory. But yeah, he done that. He also did a movie, Once Bitten, the vampire movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was the lead guy in Once Bitten.
Yeah.
Where he's like this.
I always forget that was first.
Exactly. He's this virgin guy in L.A. named Mark, trying to get laid, of course, 80s comedy.
And then he ends up with a vampire.
Yeah.
And hilarity ensues.
What's the name? Lauren Hutton was his vampire?
Yeah, I think so.
Actually, one of my favorite scenes in that movie, and it's kind of fucked up but funny, like him and his girlfriend are at makeout point or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And the girlfriend throughout the whole movie is being super prudish, like I wanted to be special, I want this and I want that. He's like, come on, let's just do this. And she's like, all you want me for is for sex. And then they have this big argument. She leaves, and he's stuck at makeout point, and then you look around, all the cars in makeout point, everybody in the car is getting it in except him.
Yep.
He's just sitting there like, oh my God. And you hear all the cars just, and it's
over the top.
All the windows are steamed up and shit. It's so fucking funny, but fucked up though. But like I said, he meets this vampire chick. He gets seduced by her and bitten in a weird area too, like his inner thigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what happens is the vampire chick has to suck his blood 3 times for some reason to sustain her immortality before a certain time frame, or she'll die or some shit like that. But while it's happening, he slowly is becoming a vampire.
Yeah.
And then there's a great little dance sequence. Of course, it's 80s.
Yeah, you have to have dancing. It's not an 80s movie if nobody dances.
It's to the song hands off, he belongs to. And Jim Carrey's doing fucking Michael Jackson shit and dressed as a vampire. It's great.
It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's really great stuff. But like I said, going back to that, he did another movie, Earth Girls Are Easy, with Damon. Himself and Jeff Goldblum as aliens, furry aliens who end up in
it's freakish.
Who end up in Southern California, and they land in the swimming pool of Gina Davis, who I believe was actually married or was engaged to Jeff Goldblum at the time.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, but the movie was actually written and I think really was a starring vehicle for Julie Brown. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, Julie, just ask Julie or something like that. She was on
something like that.
She was on MTV, yeah. But actually, there's something about her a little bit later too. But it was kind of her movie. They would do silly songs and it was comedy, but it was moderately successful. But like I said, because of that relationship, him and Jim were good friends. Jim came in, auditioned, did his Jim Carrey shit. Now, initially, they were actually not going to pick Jim because he had a certain like amount of like in terms of pay that he wanted.
Well, I mean, it's like anything else. The economics can come in and start to fuck everything up pretty quick. And the really messed up thing about the whole Hollywood setup, whenever you take a gig, your agent, they've got an incentive, you've got an incentive to make sure that it's at least at a minimum what you got the last time, unless you have some sort of ownership. So the way they always get around it, it's like you have a piece of it as a producer, whatever the back end is. That's why from what I understand, Brad Pitt actually produces, but you might see, somebody else, I don't know, pick a name, has a producing credit. They do that so they can get paid.
Yeah. So in terms of that, Jim almost didn't get picked for In Living Color, and they actually had a backup for him just in case. And you know what the backup was?
No, I never found that out.
Thomas Hayden Church.
Seriously?
Yeah, he was the backup just in case Jim Carrey wouldn't go down.
There's no way I could see Fire Marshal Bill or the Reverend Doctor
Carl Pythos.
I couldn't see any of that.
The mechanic dude from Wings could have been the replacement for Jim Carrey.
And look, he's not a bad actor, but it's just you can't replace that.
It's two different animals. Yeah. Two different animals. And actually reading in terms of like he did auditions in LA for different comedians, and other than Jim Carrey, the one white comedian that got closest to being cast was Adam Sandler.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah,
because it was just a couple years later he ends up SNL.
Same thing. Schneider auditioned and David Spade auditioned. Actually, David Spade actually auditioned. He thought he had it in the bag, but then he found out Jim Carrey auditioned too. He's like, fuck.
Everybody.
Because he said, I had a gig in Hawaii to do stand-up, and I actually missed it for that shit.
Exactly.
God damn it. But yeah, like I said, some heavy hitters auditioned for it In Living Color before it became a big thing.
Well, and then you got to add into it, we got to do Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence also auditioned for In Living Color. But the thing about Keenan kept saying, like, Martin is funny, but he's not ready. He wanted like the all-around package in terms of the show. He wanted
Chris Rock was there too.
Same thing. He wanted performers who could do everything. He wanted them guys who could do impressions, sing, dance. He wanted the overall get down.
He wanted a triple threat.
Yes, he did. And of those guys, like I said, Chris Rock and Martin Lawrence, he picked Tommy Davidson. And Tommy Davidson, of course, is a phenomenal actor. High energy on top of high energy. And he's been like that basically his entire career. He's still like that now. He's like almost 50, 60 years old. He's still like that. High wired. He was a huge comedian at the time. Actually, at the time, Tommy had did a pilot for CBS for a Coming to America TV show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to be playing the brother of Eddie Murphy's character. And the only character from the actual movie that made it to the TV show was, what's his name? Oha, the big dude.
Oh, yeah.
She's your queen. He was like his handler in America.
Which would make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially after all the hijinks that Eddie and Arsenio got into.
Exactly. So Tommy was kind of feeling himself at the time. He had a deal with CBS and all this other stuff. So he was like...
Well, you know about him getting turned down by SNL, right?
Yes.
So the messed up thing on the SNL one, so Tommy's claim, and I've actually got it as a quote so I don't mess it up, he says that when he auditioned, he met with Lorne Michaels about the spot, and supposedly what he said was, I don't want a black comedian. Eddie Murphy was a mistake. I don't want a person that stands out. And so Tommy says, I'm confused. He's like, I've been black my whole life. Like, I can't just unzip this. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
No.
Now, to be fair, the handlers over at NBC, they swear to God to this day, never happened, didn't happen. But I mean, this quote that I'm reading from, this is from last year.
Yeah.
This is during the 25th anniversary of In Living Color. Mm-hmm. Tommy's still a little bit pissed about it, as you would be if that actually happened. So,
actually, I think this will be 30 this year.
Was it 30 this year?
30.
94 is when it ended.
94 is when it ended, but when it debuted officially debuted in 90.
I think they're doing from when it ended.
Okay.
This one, they were calling it the 25th.
I got you. Okay.
Anniversary of the end. But at any rate, I mean, and it doesn't. It kind of almost passes the smell test when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because look at what happened to Damon.
Yeah.
Because Damon was on the show and he was forced to be background. Exactly. And that guy's got. I mean, look, like we talked about before with SNL, it ebbs and flows in terms of the talent, the breakout, how good or bad it is from one season to the next. They have also ran seasons, and then they have seasons where you go, holy shit, look at all that power, look what they're doing, look at all this stuff.
Yeah.
The time when Damon was on there, it's more of an also ran.
Yes.
There wasn't a hell of a lot happening that makes you go, oh my God, did you see? And you could have had Damon. So, I mean, there may be some credence to that. You'd hope it's not, but you never know.
But like, if you look at SNL overall in terms of like the ones that have broken out, they usually break out after they leave SNL.
Well, no, but I mean, if you roll it back, like when Adam Sandler was still on, when Chris Farley was still on, I mean, those guys.
Yeah, I'm talking about specifically black comedians.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. So I mean, Tommy, looks like he's got a point. Sadly enough.
Yeah, exactly. So that happened. They picked Tommy Davidson. Everything worked out. Next pick, David Alan Grier, another great actor.
Oh,
who
fantastic!
Been around forever. Actually, funny enough, the first thing I ever saw him in was not in Living Color. It was actually Amazon Women on the Moon, the John Landis movie.
Oh yeah.
He played Don No Soul Simmons.
Okay.
Yeah. And like he pretty much he was like this like generic rhythmless black guy who was like singing all these like standards and shit. Like he's like singing like instead of singing like soul ballads, he's singing like tie a yellow ribbon around me, shit like that, or like Three Dog Night and shit like that. And then like they have another CD. This CD is like the best of Don No Soul Simmons, and then they have another CD, Don Simmons Down and Funky, and he's like singing like he's singing Three Dog Night, Joy to the World. That's him being down and funky. Jeez. And then you see like a list of the songs. I think one of them is like the Ballad of the Green Beret. Yeah.
Just some ridiculous songs.
And then at the end of the movie, he's like he's throughout the movie, but at the end of the movie, he does like this little merengue dance, like Blame It on the Bossa Nova. It's funny, but yeah, David was in that, and David had been around for a minute. He's another one of those journeyman black actors. We mentioned before on our last show, he was on A Different World.
Yep.
As a professor. David at that time was trying to get into that whole, nice black doctor on a medical show. That type groove. So,
something that would be a little less stress and you could just go in and do it.
Exactly. And he auditioned for In Living Color. He was like, he didn't think he would get it because just like a lot of the people that we have on the list, he didn't have characters. He wasn't from that background, so he didn't think he got it, but he actually did, and he turned it down.
See, I didn't know he turned it down.
He turned it down, and then he went to New York to do some other thing. And then the person that brought him back was Kim Wayans. She pretty much called him and she talked to him. They did a thing recently at the Tribeca Film Festival.
Yeah, this was last year for the 25th.
Exactly. Yeah. So he talks about Kim, like called him like it was an intervention. David, you need to do this. This is the best opportunity for you. And then he said. He relented and said, okay, I'll do this.
And she was right.
And it was the best decision he ever made.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely the best decision he ever made. And after that, since we talked about Kim Wayans.
Yeah.
Kim Wayans is another one who had been around for a little bit, and she did little bit parts here and there. Like I said, she was an extra in the Robert Townsend Partners in Crime Get Down. You can see her at the beginning of Eddie Murphy Raw.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the fans talking about, like, what's your favorite Eddie Murphy movie? I think her answer was 48 Hours. And
that's a solid one.
And also, you see her in a crowd when Damon is doing stand-up, also on Partners in Crime. And she, like I said, she had a recurring role on A Different World as one of the students at Hillman that stayed in the same building as Denise Huxtable and Whitley Gilbert and all those other characters. And Kim, like I said, Kim was always like one of those great young female actresses. I think the one that really got her notice was in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, where she's like the bad singer. And everybody's like, they have the joke in the movie, like, who's that? That's the director's sister. and Keenan's like, because she's like doing this horrible rendition of like When the Saints Go Marching In. And it's like taking forever.
And I will say, without naming specific movies or TV shows that I've worked on, that shit happens all the fucking time, where somebody's got a part because they're related to somebody.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's almost never something that you can cut and throw away. It's still in
exactly
in the damn final product.
And a couple of the other cast members who were actually picked from the LA. Another one from the LA trials was Kim Coles. Mm-hmm. Now, Kim Coles was mainly known as a stand-up at the time. She was pretty much a very, very pretty girl. She was well known for that. She didn't really have a lot of credits to her name at the time, but she was a budding stand-up comedian, and they picked her from that. She was pretty, so they picked her. The other two, Takia Crystal Kima and Kelly Caulfield, are improv actresses from Chicago. And they same thing. They didn't have any characters. They didn't really have any, like impressions or anything of that sort. They were just pretty much straightforward actresses. They went in and did it. They did a great job. They both got picked. And actually, Takia's audition you can actually see on In Living Color. In the early season, she does a skit called Black World, where she plays a little girl, and she actually wrote it herself. She plays this little girl who's like in a basement, imagining what the world would be like if black people ran the world, that kind of thing. And then, like, she's like, hey, it's gonna be like this, and it's like that, and then like her favorite celebrities are like in the government and shit like that, and it's really sweet little thing. And I can see why you picked it, because she was very sweet in that particular skit.
You know what's crazy? One of the ones that I saw she probably took longer to break out than anybody else, but I saw who was an audition that didn't make it was Margaret Cho.
Yeah.
She actually auditioned way back in the day, and I mean, probably the last 5-10 years, she finally started getting some notoriety, making it with her stand-up specials, and she's killing it now.
Exactly, she's dope now. And Susie Eisman was another one that
Susie Eisman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's another one that auditioned for A Living Color, didn't make it. But anyway, they got the cast down. The Wayans family, Keenan, Damon, and Kim, David Allen Greer, Tommy Davidson, Kim Coles, Takia Crystal Kima, and Kelly Caulfield. That was the original cast of In Living Color. Now, in terms of Keenan's vision for the show, he wanted it to be an old school variety show. He was thinking more along the lines of like the Jackie Gleason show.
Yeah.
So instead of a band, he has a DJ. And instead of the June Taylor dancers,
he's got the Fly Girls.
And the Fly Girls were meant to represent, the hot girls at the time, the B girls that were in the clubs, you know what I'm saying, dressing funky, doing crazy moves and shit in the dance floor. And for the pilot show, the original choreographers for the Fly Girls were, you ever see House Party, right?
Yeah.
The two main girls in House Party, AJ Johnson and Tisha Campbell, were the original choreographers for the Fly Girls. Yeah. Yeah, and like I say, you can see it in the pilot episodes. A lot of the moves that the Fly Girls do in the pilot, you can see Tisha and AJ do in House Party with Kid and Play. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's really. This is like the part of like the geeking out like this that I like is when you can make those connections, because it's almost like. It's almost like we're actually making Last Action Hero work better than it actually did as a movie, because we're able to like play around the cinema world and television world and make these connections. We're like, oh, so this person went from that, and then you can kind of create your own little narrative and just geek the fuck out and have some fun with it.
It is so crazy when you think about it. And actually, I think Keenan dated AJ just for a little bit.
I would be surprised if he didn't date every Fly Girl for a little bit.
No, but specifically AJ Johnson.
Well, but what I'm saying is he was single while he was running the show.
Yes, he was, exactly. So.
And he was the hottest guy in television for those 5 years.
Yeah. Now, I remember they had a list of the original skits for the first show. Of the three, pretty much the main ones that a lot of people would remember, Men on Film, which is
one of my favorites.
Yeah, The Wrath of Farrakhan, which we're going to get into, and the Homeboy Shopping Network. Those are among the three original skits. Now, that's when it comes into like a little bit of the network interference. Now, initially, they did the pilot, but one particular Fox executive, Peter Chernin, actually wanted him to take those particular skits out because he was worried about the backlash behind them.
Right.
He said he wanted them to take them out the first episode, but
the idea was they could recycle it in later. Yeah, but
like,
they wanted to do a softer opening because they still weren't sure how this was going to play, and the FCC and they didn't know, and so they started getting gun shy, as often happens.
But Keenan was like, "Fuck that! I want to let people know what it is from the get. I want to go in guns a-blazing. If it make it, great. If I don't, all well. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. But I got to let people know what it is from the get." And they were nervous, particularly Barry Diller, executive for Fox, was very nervous about it. But then the reassuring thing that Keenan did was invite Barry Diller down to a taping of the pilot, particularly for the skit Men on Film.
Well, there was actually two things to it. So that helped to a certain extent. But when the pilot got finished, they actually shelved it for 6 months. Yeah. Because everyone was scared shitless of it. So I'm blanking on the executive's name, but there was an executive.
Barry Diller.
No, it was a different executive. It might have been Diller as well, but I think it was a different executive. Actually leaked it. I think if I remember right, it was to Details magazine.
Oh yeah.
So that way they could, basically get an outside perspective. So they sent it over. They read it. They thought it was great. They wrote up this great killer piece on it.
Yeah.
But you're right. Diller was still freaked out, specifically about men on film, because you got to remember too. Was there even a gay character on TV at this point?
Not really, no.
I mean, this is way before. What was that show that everyone likes? The
Queer Eye for the Straight Guy?
No. It was the sitcom from the '90s.
Which one?
Oh shit, I can't remember.
I'm say,
no, but it was the only
sitcom for the.
No, but it was
what you just said to me. The sitcom for the 90s.
It was the only one that had a gay character in a lead role.
Will and Grace?
Will and Grace.
Okay.
Yeah, this is way before Will and Grace. So what I was saying was that was what he was scared shitless of. But he saw what happened in that rehearsal because they made him watch a rehearsal, and they just blew the roof off the place. Everyone loved it. They were stomping their feet. They're laughing their asses off. That's where you get one of my favorites: 3 snaps in a Z formation.
Yeah. The original one just plain 2 snaps up.
Yeah, I know. But once you got to the 3 snaps, that's when it stuck for me.
Which we're gonna get into a little bit later. But like I said, they did the pilot. They shelved it for about a year, and all the other actors were
it took them a total year, six months. Then they finally got it pushing, and then they go, okay, fine, we're just gonna have to man up, as it were, and see what happens.
Yeah, and then finally, it actually debuted. You know what I'm saying? In 1990 on Fox, got huge ratings. Now, initially, like I said, A.J. Johnson and Tisha Campbell were the original for choreographers, but they were working actresses as well. They didn't want to just be stuck doing this show, so they kind of did their own thing. So their next, the person that came in after them would be the Fly Girl choreographer up until probably like the last season of the show, Rosie Perez. And at the time,
she couldn't even pronounce Perrier.
Exactly.
Perrier? I can't pronounce it.
Exactly. Because Keenan wanted the Fly Girls to be a mix of hip-hop dancing and classical dance.
And he got that with Rosie.
Yeah, Rosie pretty much was like mainly known at that time. She was a soul train dancer. You can actually look at some old clips from like 88, 89. You can see Rosie.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like she's doing the whole shit from. And then of course the main thing that really got her out there, the opening sequence of "Do the Right Thing," where she's doing the dancing,
which we got to come back to in a second. Do the Right Thing.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a couple people in "Do the Right Thing," but yeah, Rosie Perez really got popular from "Do the Right Thing." And that style of dancing, like the angry hip hop dancing,
that aggressive style.
And Keenan wanted that. And she became the choreographer for the Fly Girls. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. And now in terms of the actual character development, we're gonna get a little bit more into that. I got different skits we can go by. Which ones, whatever. I want to go into.
Well,
that a little bit
one quick note as we're talking about, since we're starting to lean towards that direction.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey's on record as saying at the time they were just warped out of their minds.
Yeah.
They had they basically were told by Keenan when they sat down in the writer's room, there's no such thing as a boundary. He said, I don't want you just out of the box. I want to take you out of the box and across the yard.
Exactly.
You guys are pretty much out of the box already. We're going to the other side of the yard. We're going to get crazy with this.
Yeah.
And a couple of sketches that Jim Carrey said that they pitched that never made a tear, that just the concept alone is enough to make you just about snort laughing. One of them was Make a Death Wish Foundation.
Yeah.
And it's about a dead kid who posthumously wishes to go to an amusement park.
Yeah.
That one didn't make the air, but one of the funny things about it was
it's the Fire Marshal Bill face.
It's the Fire Marshal Bill face. Exactly. That was what he came up with for it. And the other one that was definitely way too far ahead of its time was an abortion rally ventriloquist.
Oh yeah.
which I mean, again, say that like what's his name? Fucking Louis Black.
Yeah.
He's got this whole bit about he loves saying to a room full of people the word abortion because you can hear every anus in the place snap shut. And that's in 2019. Imagine 1990, 1991. You and I are just little kids in elementary school. Can you imagine doing an abortion rally ventriloquist sketch on network television back in the day?
Jesus
Christ.
My
God. People would have lost their minds.
Okay, now in terms of some other actors that actually auditioned for A Living Color, actually one of them that actually got offered the show but turned it down, John Leguizamo.
Yeah, well, and then you know why, right?
Yeah, because he had his own thing.
What he's gone on record as saying is basically his representation, his guys at the time were pumping him up because he's doing big. His career's really catching fire at that time. And they're saying, hey, you're going to get your own sketch show.
He did,
and it was going to be called Bugging Out, if I remember correctly.
No, House of Bugging.
Oh, House of Bugging. That's what it was going to be called.
Yeah.
And that's actually what later ended up becoming Mad TV.
Exactly.
So We almost ended up with House of Buggin', but thankfully we went in living color.
I remember watching a couple episodes of House of Buggin'. It was okay, but
Yeah, it wasn't in living color.
No, it was
not even close.
It was not in living color.
And as much as I love Mad TV and
Yeah.
some of the sketches and characters, it's still not in living color.
And the thing with Keenan was very adamant with the cast. He was like a taskmaster with the cast. You know what I'm saying? He's like, hey, I want you to be able to come up with your own characters. I want you to like pitch them to me. He was like
Yeah, I mean, all of the actors were in the writers' room.
Exactly.
I mean, nobody who was on the show was just waiting for sides. They were all involved.
And what he would do is when they would go between seasons, he'd be like, okay, I want you to go out and I want you to bring me back 3 characters. Each and every one of you. I want you to bring me back 3 characters. I want you to go out there, observe life, and bring me back 3 characters. And I want you to pitch them to me, and we'll see what works and what doesn't. You know what I'm saying? And he did that like every season with those guys.
Well, and I mean, it definitely at times it definitely added stress and strain to their relationship. In fact, apparently there was one time where Jim Carrey felt like he was just getting beat to hell in the writer's room by Keenan.
Yeah.
So he got up on his chair and he started reading a sketch out of his ass.
Yes.
Which, of course, anyone who's watched Ace Ventura.
The Ace Ventura thing.
But that's where it came from. It was him pissed off at Keenan in the middle of the writer's room.
There's a great little sidebar in the book they have about Living Color where Keenan got hot. There actually was almost a physical confrontation between Jim Carrey and Keenan Ivory Wayans. And to everybody's surprise, Jim was like, bring it.
Yeah. No, he's crazy when it comes to that. In fact, it ended up on the show. If you watch, go back through a lot of the episodes, you'll see in some of the later seasons, Jim Carrey was so pissed at Keenan that he'd come out during Keenan's sketches and he would be wearing sunglasses, dark sunglasses. You couldn't see his eyes just to fuck it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And in fact, actually, we'll get to season 5. You'll see the black sunglasses thing. It kind of became a thing.
Yes, it did. But like I said, it ran for many, many years. Like
Four solid, 5 total.
I want to really save the sketches but I really want to talk about the running of the show itself. Like it got very, very popular. One part of pop culture that a lot of people don't really realize about Living Color that it really helped to contribute to the Super Bowl halftime show.
Yes, it did.
Exactly. And Living Color ran a Super Bowl halftime. They had like a little sketch comedy event that happened during one of the Super Bowls, and it was such a big draw that it took away from the Super Bowl halftime show.
Well, what they did, because I think this was 91, if I remember correct, that Super Bowl. They basically set up a half-hour live show to go up against the halftime show of the Super Bowl. And traditionally, I mean, if you grew up watching football or any of that stuff, that was a time where, maybe you'd have the ribbon dancers, you'd have a marching band, maybe the guy who's like, was it the Nancy or the Natalie Grace or whatever it was, one of those Christian singers would come out and sing a song or something.
I actually have
I
actually have the exact thing that they
or Natalie Grant. But at any rate, they decided, okay, we're going to do a live sketch show. And in particular, they took the Men on Film and they did a Men on Football bit.
Yes, they did.
And it blew the ratings off the roof for Fox.
Yeah.
And it changed pop culture, like you said, for the rest of all eternity.
It caused 20 to 25 million people to switch from the Super Bowl to Fox to watch the Living Color halftime show. And what they had for the halftime show, I actually have that, is called Winter Magic. It was a skating performance with Brian Boitano and Dorothy Hamill, a song from Gloria Estefan, and pretty much all it was pretty much a promotion for the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
During the Super Bowl. And like nobody's going to watch this shit.
Well, and what was great about their show, I mean, this is one of the only times, if I remember correctly, where anyone's put on anything live against the Super Bowl.
Actually, I take another thing that came on live during the WWE. The WWF in like 1999, I believe.
They're following in Keenan's footsteps.
Yeah, they did a halftime Heat show, and it was great. It was actually with The Rock. The Rock was the champion at the time, and they had a empty arena match with The Rock and Mick Foley, Mankind, and it was probably one of my favorite matches of all time because it's a great match, and they had a live crowd.
Oh, yeah.
And it was actually on USA.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that one got some huge ratings too. So there are other people that have done things during the Super Bowl, but other than The Living Color, that's the one thing that I remember was WWE halftime Heat.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and what was crazy was because again they're scared shitless of what's going on with the men in football. They're again playing to that kind of gay stereotype that they have going on with the men in football characters, Damon Wayans and everything. There's a ton of sexual innuendo in that one, and those guys have a tendency to a certain extent to improv. They actually had, I'm blanking on which exec, but they had an exec there with the 60-second dump button, just sweating bullets the whole 30 minutes.
And the exact thing that got him in trouble for the Men on Football thing, they made 2 jokes implying that both Richard Gere and Carl Lewis were gay.
Yeah.
And, of course, representatives for both did not like that and they actually threatened to sue In Living Color. And they actually, if you watch...
You can threaten to sue anyone. It's free if it's just a threat.
If you happen to watch, like, subsequent broadcasts of that particular halftime show, they show it on the syndication block for In Living Color, but the actual live show... I'm sorry, AJ's...
I'm laughing because I watched it again today because you can actually find the unedited version on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
It is so
funny.
And look, the joke isn't even really that bad.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, too. This is where it's kind of funny the way culture shifts and changes. If they did that shit today, some people might be upset with them because you're playing in gay stereotypes or whatever, but neither one of those guys would ever sue them because then they'd flip it around and be like, well, what's wrong with being gay?
Yeah.
Right? So it's funny. It's like, it's just crazy the way this shit shifts and changes. And you have to give it to them because, again, even though they're having fun, they're making jokes and all that shit, it wasn't at all a really negative portrayal of gay people. It wasn't anything to be scary of. It was making it more, acceptable.
Yeah. But one thing we need to go into is that actual thing happened during, I believe, the 3rd season of In Living Color, which was a turnaround season for the show.
Yep.
Now, like I said, we already mentioned the original cast. Kim Coles actually was let go after the 1st season, like towards the end of the 1st season. She wasn't really making it on the show. She went on to have her own success, but, kudos to her. Now, in the 3rd season, they had a switch up. They cast some more people.
Yep.
2 particular people that made a debut in the 3rd season premiere of In Living Color. One was a new fly girl, a girl from the Bronx named Jennifer Lopez. And the other one...
Is she still around?
Yeah, I think she's doing all right.
Okay.
Yeah. And another one, apparently some country bumpkin from Texas named Jamie Foxx.
I heard that was a made-up name.
Yes, it was. I'm gonna get into that a little
Which
bit
is
later.
actually fantastic as a story.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. But yeah, Jamie Foxx and Jennifer Lopez both made their debut during the 3rd season of In Living Color. Also, Sean Wayans, who was initially the show's DJ, became a full-fledged cast member in the 3rd season.
And that's when we finally got some really good... That was when we were finally starting to lean towards some Mo money.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
One of my all-time favorites.
Yeah, so they came in the 3rd season. The show was doing very successful. Now, going into the 4th season, Keenan started having some issues with the executives at Fox. Now, during the 4th season, Fox began showing episodes of previous seasons without the permission of Keenan.
They started rerunning it, and I mean, technically speaking, the way the deal was written, and this is where it sucks for him, they could do that, but it was a problem because you're devaluing it, because what you got to do in television syndication, you do everything's a one-off. It's an original run, and this, again, we're talking old school. It's nowhere near the same now with everything being streamed and all that shit, but you do everything as a one-off with the goal to get to 100 episodes, because once you hit 100, now you can go into syndication. That's when you start selling to other providers overseas, all that other stuff, and that's when it's valuable. And particularly with comedy more than anything, the less it's seen, the better. Because anything, it doesn't matter what it is, it's less funny the second time. It's less funny the third time. Yeah,
he actually got to the point where Keenan was so pissed off at them, he actually hid a tape of a new show in the ceilings of his office so they couldn't get to it.
Yeah. And again, Fox, they're just now trying to figure out who the hell and what they got. They're running the hell out of the only thing that's been successful that's original programming.
Exactly. And it got to the point where Keenan just kind of threw up his hands and said, enough is enough. And he left the set, never came back. Now, the actual funny thing about it is you can see the day that Keenan Ivory Wayans left on In Living Color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can feel it.
And funny enough, it's a Christmas episode. Towards the pretty much the Christmas episode of the 4th season, you can see there's a little special thing they had at the very end where the Fly Girls were like all wishing their friends and family a Merry Christmas. Jim Carrey wished his friends Merry Christmas, and Jamie Foxx sang a rendition of Donny Hathaway's This Christmas. Now, what you see in the background is the rest of the cast wearing glasses and black hats.
Everyone's wearing dark glasses. That's that comeback.
In protest, because that was the day that Keenan left the show.
Yep.
The exact day of the Kingdom left, it happened to be the Christmas episode, and you can see it on YouTube. Like for years, it always weirded me out. I thought it was like a religious thing.
Yeah.
For years, but
Well,
yeah,
in a way, it kind of was. I mean, he was their captain.
yes, he was, and then he left the show, and they're like, "No, fuck, we're not going to participate in this. This is not fair. This is not cool."
Yep.
And yeah, the rest of the cast is in the back. Didn't do nothing. Didn't partake. They just stood in protest, and it's like it's so crazy to watch too. It's like fucking like it's this happy thing in front of them, and all these people in the back just like fuck this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, man. Now for the fifth and final season, because the Wayans are pretty much done with the show, and also I forgot to add a couple other people were added to the show during the third and fourth seasons. Allie Wentworth was a white actress added to the show, and also Marlon Wayans made his debut in the fourth season. He only did one season in Living Color. He was pretty prominent though. And the other one was an Asian actor named Steve Park. He only did one season too. He only did the third season. So they came in, and then like I said, during the fifth and final season, there was a massive overhaul. All the Wayans were gone.
Well, not all the Wayans.
No, all of them were gone.
No, because Sean and Marlon, if I remember correctly, they actually were contractually obligated to participate through the fifth year.
Yeah.
Damon was like, "Fuck this, I'm out," because he had enough juice he could go. In fact, Jim Carrey talks about it. He said he contractually probably could have weaseled out of it, but that's when he was actually working nights with Odenkirk on Ace Ventura and doing the show during the day, and so he didn't really want to have a total upheaval, and so he just kept cruising.
And actually, another thing, Damon left the show during this actual third season as a full-time cast member. He left to go to what they thought was a superstar film career. And at that time, I think he just did The Last Boy Scout.
Yeah,
with Bruce Willis, so that was a huge hit movie, and it's like Damon's on his way now, like freaking he's going to do Hollywood and shit. Didn't really work out that way.
You know what though?
He did great.
I was going to say
he did great, but he.
I mean, look, he never hit the Eddie Murphy level.
Never.
But then, I mean, fuck, man, black, white, Asian, whatever. Who has?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a short list.
But we both agree on what his magnum opus is.
Oh, 100%. Major Pain.
Major Pain.
If you hadn't listened to earlier episodes, that was how we became friends. We were sitting there quoting that movie to each other for however long it took to smoke a cigar.
I don't give a damn who you are or who you think you are in terms of like film people. Like if you want to go and say like what is the ultimate Damon Wayans movie, Major Pain.
You will laugh your ass off.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's right. But like during the final season, like I said, most of the Wayans were not involved in terms of like creatively.
Yeah.
Were not involved.
Yeah. I mean, they just did what they had to fulfill their contract.
So the show's skits themselves were no longer character driven and satirical. They were actually giving way to like cruder content, and they had a lot of celebrity guest appearances during the final season. They had like
well, they were trying to revive it, but they killed themselves.
Here's a little list of some of the people that actually showed up during the final season. Barry Bonds, James Brown, Rodney Dangerfield, and that was a weird one too with Rodney Dangerfield because like it was like
that is a weird one.
It was a police skit. It was like around the time of the riots, the LA riots, and it was actually cops were pulling over a car and they thought it was Rodney King, and they were going to beat his ass again. And funny enough,
that's Rodney Dangerfield.
No, for the real part about it is the cops that was going to pull him over to beat his ass are black. What was it? Jamie Foxx and David Allen Greer with the cops, and they're like, I'm gonna crack him, like whatever. And they get out of the car. It's Rodney Dangerfield. He does his shtick, I took my wife to a dog show. She won,
that kind of stuff.
This is my story of my life. No respect. I give no respect at all. That's pretty much what it was. It's pretty much him doing his act. It just happened to have this background of the Rodney King thing. Also, Sherman Hemsley did an episode.
Yeah.
Biz Marquis became like kind of like a recurring character, recurring actor on the show. He did a bunch of skits. Like a lot of times he just pretty much just hanging around or whatever, like just being weird.
Yeah, which works.
It worked well for him. They brought on like hosts like Peter Marshall from the Hollywood Squares. Yeah. Ed O'Neill did one. Who else? Chris Rock actually kind of became like almost like a part-time cast member during the final season.
Yeah.
So
it was kind of full circle for him in that way.
Exactly. He was in a lot of skits. He actually was the lead in a bunch of skits on The Living Color. Kind of like he was almost like, this is not really a fair comparison overall, but like he was kind of like But Steve Martin was to early SNL. You know, like
Yeah.
he's on it so much.
That's fair enough.
He was on it so much that people thought he was a cast member when he actually wasn't.
Right. He never. I mean, and at that point, you're really just kind of getting down into semantics and the business side of it.
And then it had like a lot of big time music stars who were on skits like Johnny Gill, Tupac Shakur,
Yeah.
Salt and Pepper. And then they had one show where they had pretty much had a bunch of NBA players. Shaq. Shaq did one. He actually did a rap on that. He did it when he was still rapping.
Yeah.
With,
he should bring that back.
What's the name of his group? Sneakers.
They should bring Shaq should get back into it.
What's up, Doc? Can we I think it's around the same time as Shaq Fu too. Yeah, he was real big during. Shaq was real big during that time. Yeah, Shaq, and then they actually did one with just a bunch of like NBA players.
That was his audition for Shazam, wasn't it?
Might as well have been. But they did another one. They did another one with a bunch of NBA players. It was like John Starks, Patrick Ewing was the main one. And it was like, wow, yeah. I think Vlade Divac.
Jeez.
It was so weird, but he had just a bunch of guest stars and shit.
Yeah.
And then, of course, eventually ratings went down, and they actually brought on a couple new cast members during the final season. The aforementioned Anne Marie Johnson, who was in a lot of the Robin Townsend stuff, she became a full cast member in the final season. And then they brought in a couple other comedians. Dude named Jay Leggett, a big white guy from Chicago, and a lady named Carol Rosenthal. She became a cast member. And then they had another guy named Reggie McFadden who kind of became a part-time cast member on the show. And also the last one was Mark Wilmore, brother of Larry Wilmore.
Yep.
Yeah, he was actually right on the show for most of the years, and he became a cast member in the final season. But then, like I said, the show went off the air in '94. And for years and years, the rest of the cast went on to do their own thing, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. But the last little note in terms of that, the attempted reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah, around 2013, Keenan thought, you know what? You should bring back In Living Color. Like there was a lot of rumblings about it because the show was
the show's done fantastic in syndication, and I mean he's said on record multiple times that him and his siblings they still talk about it all the time. It's a great time. It's a lot of fun. And anyone who's been involved in sketch comedy or improv comedy, it's a different. Well, it's like we were talking about before, why it makes sense that Eddie Murphy would be wanting to come back, right?
Yeah.
It's a completely different vibe. There's a sense of urgency and excitement around it that you don't get in a feature film because everything, it's live and you have to do it on whatever date it's scheduled for. So you're going to make it or break it.
So the original intention was basically to have the old cast members and the new cast members come back. Like these new cast members be the anchor of the show, but have old cast members come on and do their old characters, kind of like as guest stars and stuff like that. And Keenan felt that the reason he didn't go forward with it is because he didn't feel that a full season's worth of material was possible with these actors. Because, like I said, it's no longer this is the age of YouTube, so there's no longer the full package anymore.
Well, and the other thing too was Damon bowed out, and that was the final straw that pretty much killed. Is that Damon Wayans just said, "Hey, I don't. That's not my thing right now." He had other stuff going on.
Basically, yeah.
Before we move totally past this, though, a couple of other things that were kind of interesting in the way this set up, talking about the totality of the frustration that eventually led to Keenan saying, "Okay, enough's enough. I got to go." One of the reasons they were rerunning the shows as much as they were, again, talking about Fox being a startup and everything, they were essentially using it not just to make sure that they essentially had their crown jewel out on full display for everyone, but they'd use it to launch other shows. Yeah. Because you have a certain amount of spillover going from one episode to whatever comes on next, right? I mean, that's why right now, if anybody who still watches broadcast television, if you're watching Law & Order SVU, they're going to either bump it up in the beginning or the end with whatever the newest shit is they're trying to put out there. A couple of the other things I had here as notes that were driving them nuts was you could never pin down the censors.
Yeah,
because
I was going to get into that.
Because you'd be in a position where this is hilarious, this is great, this is awesome this week, and then get some letters from somebody somewhere who was offended somehow, and so all of a sudden this week we can't do it. Yeah. And then eventually you cool off, and then you could do it again. And so that kind of like ebb and flow, that fucks with the creative process, that screws with comedy in a way that you can't really get around. And one of the things that drove him the most nuts, and I actually have a quote from him on this one, was, let's see, Fox brought in a black guy who they introduced to me as someone who marched in the civil rights movement. And I was like, he's not the professor of the black race. And he said, I wouldn't even deal with him. Because he said for the most part, it was just, there was one white guy who was a censor. And then when they brought in the black dude and were trying to be like, whoa, he's a civil rights guy. He's like, what does that mean to me? What does he know about comedy?
Yeah, there's another great story, particularly about the pilot, when Keenan was brought in before like some executives in Fox, and they actually had some other guys who were like government types. Like he swore they were the FBI. He never actually found out who they were, but they were like men in black looking types. Had the glasses and the black suits and shit. And they sat Keenan down and they discussed with him. They showed him the pilot, and then the thing that really got Keenan like weirded out was like the people asked for this particular focus group. They weren't asked if the show was funny. They asked how the show made them feel.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay. And then they were asking Keenan some weird questions like, okay, so what exactly do you think this show is going to be? And Keenan's like, well, I think it's going to be cutting edge. I think it's going to be revolutionary. And then they stopped him like, wait. What do you mean revolutionary? And then Keenan's like, no, not what you're thinking.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, it's going to be fresh. It's going to be innovative. That's what I mean in terms of revolutionary. And, so they're doing stuff like that. And also, with the censors, what they would do is, because of the fact that they would use a lot of slang that the censors were not aware of at the time, a lot of black slang. And
well, there was the reggae.
Hey Ma. I was going to get into that when we get to the skit. But yeah, Hey Ma used a lot of Jamaican curse words that the censors didn't know.
And so they got through.
Yeah. And then they would say like little things like I think the one that really made me laugh, they talked about it, the Tribeca too. They were like, hey, we'll do a skit and we would purposely put in a stupid word thinking it's like, but making a connotation that it's nasty, and in the sense would be like, I don't want to do that. And then it would put in the actual word that they wanted to use.
Well, in fact, that was one of the things that I think it was Tamra, if I'm not mistaken, one of the writers, original writers.
Yeah.
She was saying they would write sketches they knew would get turned down to distract them from the stuff they really wanted to do.
Exactly.
So they purposely do stuff that was over the line offensive that they knew for sure, so that way the censors could still feel like they were doing their job.
Yeah.
Because the censor's going to censor. I mean, that's what they got.
And then they were doing one thing. It was like the censor was in the room. They was reading some script, and it was like I forgot the exact word, but I'll just say scabble dabble. Hey, we're gonna give him a scabble dabble. And they're like, yeah, scabble dabble. And the censor's like, I don't like that. What is scabble dabble? Yeah. I don't think you should use that one. And they're like, okay, well, what about if we use toss my salad? Would that be cool? Well, it's vegetarian.
Because they wouldn't know.
I'm sure that'd be cool. And then they do it, and then they actually do this toss my salad shit, and then they get a letter, and
somebody
in the sense of like, why did y'all do this to me? And they would do that all the time.
It's like what's his name with Felcher?
Yeah.
Because I look it up or don't.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. But they were able to get away with a lot of shit back in the day because the people who were in charge of censoring weren't in the know enough to realize what they were letting through.
And I think Takia Crystal Kima was like, she was talking to other people who did other shows or whatever, and she's like, "You don't know your censor? We know our censor. Like he's always there. He's always there. Like he's part of the family. He's on more of the skits than most of the cast members.
He's at the rap party every week.
Exactly. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna actually get into some of the skits themselves. And some of the stories behind it. Yeah, some great sketches. Now, I got a lot of these in alphabetical order, so I'm going to go ahead and start from the beginning. One skit that was a recurring one was Al McAfee, Mr. McAfee. And it was David Allen Greer. It's pretty much a parody of him as it's pretty much a parody of like Joe Clark from Lean On Me.
Yeah.
But completely inept. He's like this principal with like a bad hip and this fucked up like megahorn. Like, Mr. McAfee says this, Mr. McAfee says that. And what he would do is he would like hem up the good students and fuck them up. And while that's happening, all the bad students are doing like horrible shit. They were like doing graffiti, making fun of him, and they would always put like signs on his back and shit like that. Yeah. And he would always try to get with this one teacher. It was always played by Kim Wayans. Like, hey, come on, like let's do some whatever. Like, and he always had like a little stupid saying. Let me tell you something about Mr. McAfee's speech on whatever. You know what I'm saying? It was really stupid little skit.
Which is funny because in some sort of ways, at least for me, again, talking about making connections that aren't technically there. Now it reminds me of Mr. Mackey on South Park.
Yes.
I want to talk about something, okay?
Oh, my God.
All right, now, drugs are bad, okay?
Dog, when that character first debuted, that shit had me rolling.
Dude, it still gets me.
Because I had a teacher like Mr. Mackey, bro.
Everybody did.
Drugs are bad. I'm saying it bad because they're bad. Because, drugs are bad. Okay? The shit, that's all we got.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so another character that they did was Andrea Dice Clay.
Oh,
now, Kelly Caulfield who was the sole white actress on the initial show. She was a great impressionist. She became a great impressionist really on the show. Like she had initial issues with the show because of the fact she was, like I said, she was a Chicago theater actress. And what Kenan told her and Takia Crystal Kima and Kim Coles, but only the other two took it, was there is no vanity in comedy. And And he basically cited specifically Lucille Ball as an inspiration because of the fact she was like, she's the original for female comedians. Yeah, exactly. So
and I mean, literally, if you look across the board, I mean, doesn't matter when or where, the best female comedians, they don't mind looking dumb or looking anything other than perfect and vain, right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, like Seinfeld. We could do a Seinfeld episode at some point. Yeah, but when did Elaine ever really look like that hot, except for maybe the one episode? Like most of the time, it's so physical, it's so crazy. Yeah. And that's the thing too about a show like In Living Color, when you're working with that much talent, male, female, whatever, you have to step that game up, and you have to just throw all preconceived notions of, is this going to make me look foolish out the window? Yeah. And commit.
Yeah. So getting back to Kelly Caulfield, what her specialty was, especially in the early stages, was she would do female counterparts to popular raunchy comedians. So she would do Andrea Dice Clay as a female version of Andrew Dice Clay, and Samantha Kinison, a female version of Sam Kinison. I like
which I think I actually liked better than Andrea Dice Clay, but that's just because Sam Kinison, oh my god, off the wall.
Yeah, but I like Andrea Dice Clay because of the fact they did a love connection. With Andrea Dice Clay, and it was her dating Patrick Swayze. And like she was talking about, having sex with him and shit. Like we said, like last time I saw something like that, it had an eraser on the end of it, And like Jim Carrey pulled double duty in that skit. Remember, because he was Chuck Woolery, and he was Patrick Swayze on the screen. Like he's like, look, I'm in great shape. He's like being a tender Patrick Swayze. I'm in great shape. You know what I'm saying? I do karate. I mean, I'm practically a guy with these streaks and tips in my hair. And like, I just want to really to treat her to a good time, and take her dancing. I'm really known for my dancing now. I mean, I was a star of Dirty Dancing, Yeah, you call that dancing? Like, you should see my dogs. But yeah, they went out again or whatever. And then, like I said, the Samantha Kinison one, the kicker with that one was when Sam Kinison actually came on the show. Yeah. And Sam and Samantha, were a couple, and they were just yelling at each other the entire time and shit. And then they had a kid too.
Which reminded me a lot
which was Sam Kinison too, was the kid.
Well, and that whole sketch actually reminded me of like every time you saw George's parents on Seinfeld. That was basically how it was. They were just like the older version of that.
And she was yelling at the baby, you were a goddamn mistake. You were an accident. You were an accident. And then Sam was like, the only reason you're here is because one night I got so drunk I didn't know where I stuck my they bleeped it out, but I'm pretty sure they said cock or whatever. Yeah.
I'm sure Sam said that. I have no doubt in my mind.
But that was a great skit. Another favorite of both of ours, Anton Jackson.
Oh, yes.
Damon Wayans is a drunk, filthy, fucking homeless dude living in a cardboard box. Like, usually whenever you see the skit, he's always in the cardboard box. My favorite one of the Antons is the first one, because he did like a home improvement show. This Old Box. Like it was a parody of the shit. This Old House with Bob Vila or whatever.
Yeah, Bob Vila.
But I rewatched that today, and it's still as funny today as it was when I first saw it.
Which is the progenitor of the Dave Chappelle crackhead character.
Yeah. PBS, the pavement broadcast system, proudly presents this new at-home do-it-yourself show. Now let me show you. It's like cardboard box. Let me show you. This is my house / living room / den / bathroom / library. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a new wing to my home. Add one cardboard box to another cardboard box. So let's get started, shall we? So he's like, first thing you need your tools. You need your screwdriver. You need your hammer, which is like an old shoe. Yeah. You need your power tools, which is like a egg beater, and you need your screwdriver, which is actually a screwdriver drink. He's like, he takes a shot. Let me get that again real quick. And he's like, you also need your power cord, and there's like a belt around his leg, and his legs, pants go down. Like, oh, I'm sorry, that's the extension cord. And then it's like, also what you need is a power source. So he goes to like a lamp or whatever, and like, he shocks himself or whatever. Now, remember, folks, safety last when you ain't got no money. And he's like, so he gets the box. And he's like, so first thing you need to do is create a hole. Create a hole for you. Like, first thing you do, you mark it. He spits on the box, marks it with an S, and then you make the hole and punches the shit out of it. Smooth out your rough edges. And his pants fall like this improv. Pick up our pants. And then, like, you're going to add a new box, but first thing we need is a natural adhesive. He starts picking his nose. He puts a booger on there. And like, once that dry, that's going to be crazier than some crazy glue. And also, you need to add your bathroom. And then, of course, the famous thing with him, he had the jar with, like, the fucking pickle and the juice in it. Like, it pretty much looked like piss in a turd. Yeah, that's exactly what it looked so like. Gross, man.
But it was so good.
You got to put your facilities in there. And say, so join us next week when I show y'all how to make a jacuzzi out of a garbage can. He did a couple of other ones. There's another one where he had he was on the People's Court. Yep. Yeah, and it was like him and like some Arab dude. It was Tommy Davidson as an Arab dude. He was like and then fucking Jim Carrey was Judge Wapner. Yeah. Yeah, and it was like he kept mispronouncing the Arab dude's name. Mr. Hapsack Macbod. Mr. Macbod. And then apparently what happened was Anton was in a freezer or whatever, changed his underwear, and then a lot of people see it, and then he loses a lot of money and shit. Right. Yeah, and then like and Anton is his own defense, like objection. That is pure conjecture. And then the judge like sustained. He looks at the audience and is like, I'm just as surprised as you. And he does the thing from, what's that shit? And Justice for All. Oh, yeah. I'm out of order. You're out of order. This whole damn court is out of order. It's so stupid, man.
It's but fantastic at the same time.
And he had another one where he had a marriage of convenience, where he's like married to like some Jamaican chick or whatever, just so she can get a green card. And another one that a lot of people love was when Jim Carrey was like this reporter. Yep. He had to stay the night with Anton just as like for a report, but he couldn't do it because it's just so gross. Yeah. And like Anton is like freaking sitting there like fucking like he's like passing gas, his feet stink, and he just couldn't hack it. And like he was trying to eat the same food as Anton's like old nasty like noodles and shit, and then like actually you see the bloopers of that show. There's one point where they actually take the pickle out of the thing and they eat it together, and they just grossing each other out, man. It's so gross. But the character Anton actually translated outside of Unliving Color. The character appeared once on SNL when Damon hosted. Yep. And apparently he testified during the OJ trial. Which is funny. And you can see the character very briefly at the beginning of Mo Money, where he's like, he actually pretends to use drugs.
Yeah, he's pretending to shoot up.
Yeah, exactly. So at the beginning of Mo Money, it's like a scam, but he's pretty much Anton. So yeah, that was one great character. Another great character from another Wayans, Arsenio Hall.
Oh yeah.
So at that time, Keenan and Arsenio were actually beefing.
Well, as we're leaning into it, there was a lot of people that were big in pop culture at the time who hated the show because Keenan and everybody who's involved. There was no such thing as a sacred cow. They mocked everyone. In fact, Spike Lee hated the show, not because it wasn't funny, but because they hammered the hell out of Do the Right Thing. Yeah, exactly. Which was, that was his calling card.
Yeah, Spike's joint. Yeah. We don't do that skit or whatever. But was particularly with Keenan and Arsenio because they were friends, but they had a bit of a falling out because Keenan felt that Arsenio was kind of edging him out, edging everybody out to be Eddie's best friend. You know what I'm saying? Try to get in with Eddie, like, hey, Eddie, give me some opportunities and all this shit. And Keenan didn't appreciate that. So he went in, and Arsenio, he did the whole thing with the square head and the teeth. And the two aspects that I really liked was the tight suits, number one, and also the prosthetic finger, the one long finger. And he had one. It
was ridiculous.
One long finger that's longer than the other ones, and he had like a big prosthetic ass, literally. And he would just be like, doing all the Arsenio Hall mannerisms.
Yeah.
Shit. Yes. The first skit they did was actually pretty much a full on parody of the Arsenio Hall show. Keenan comes out, he does a little monologue and shit. He's like doing all the crazy, like mannerisms of Arsenio. And then the guest was Marion Barry, David Allen Greer. But he was making fun of Arsenio's like interviewing style because it's like you report in front of the grand jury, you having people follow you all around the country. What's it like to be a sex symbol? And then Rand's like, I don't consider myself a sex symbol. I do consider myself a person who's been wrongly accused of a crime. And I'm here tonight to clear my name. Now, all allegations against me are false, and there's been no wrongdoing on my part. Now, while he's saying this, Arsenio falls asleep.
Of course.
He's like, hey, wake up. Oh, yes. Now, I understand you wrote a book. No, I didn't write a book. I was booked. For possession of an illegal substance. But I'm about the business of government. Can we talk about my re-election campaign already? Oh, Eddie's here? That's another thing they would do, like the Eddie thing.
Yeah.
No, I said already, not Eddie. Like, I thought Eddie was here. Eddie is my best friend. You always do that shit. And that's like, to all the white folks out there who don't know, Eddie Murphy's only the biggest movie star in the world. And then who's that? What are you going to be appearing next? Well, next Friday I'm going to be appearing for the grand jury, and he just starts wilding out does a big laugh and shit, then starts flipping around and shit. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, no, nothing really. I just like to do that after every third question. So I understand you brought a clip with us. And he was like, oh, wait a minute, you weren't supposed to bring that up. He said, oh, brother, no disrespect to Morgan Freeman or Denzel Washington, but brother, I hear you are smoking. And he's like, no, don't sorry. Like, Sandy, do we have a clip? Yes, we do, Arsenio. Kick it. And it shows, the recreation of the famous Marion Barry getting arrested for smoking crack.
Yeah.
And then they showed it or whatever. And he's like crying like, oh, yes, riveting. And Marion's like just crying like, oh my God, you ruined my career. And Arsenio's like, strive to be the best you can be. Now, take us home, like to the band, like take us home with some of that nasty booger nose funk. So that was the first one. Then I did another one where he's like in a courtroom, pretty much the same thing. Yeah. But they called it the Arsenio Hall of Justice. and then he had the thing where he would like point at the crowd. These are the people that whatever. He had like a joke or whatever, and he did the juries like these are the people that are too stupid to get out of jury duty. Give it up for them. And then Jim Carrey played this killer who like killed people with like a fucking like a bat or some shit like that,
yeah.
Like a heavy blunt instrument or whatever. And same thing, Arsenio was just like, like, what's it like to be a sex symbol? Like, that kind of shit or whatever. And I was, tell me about yourself. Like, well, I was in foster home for most of my life, you know what I'm saying? I was abused as a child. And Arsenio just laughing his ass off, like, my dad used me as an ashtray. Oh, he's just laughing and shit. And then, the trial goes on. And then at one point, like, he said, like, we have a very special guest witness here. Mr. Eddie Murphy. And like everybody's like, woo, woo. Even the killer's like, woo, woo, woo. Like, and then the lawyer was actually, I think it's Takia Crystal Kima. She played the lawyer, the judge, excuse me.
Yeah.
She it's like, what does it have to do with this case? No, nothing really. It's just that Sweeps is coming up and it'd be nice to have Eddie in the courtroom. And he actually hits on the judge, like, nah, me and Eddie, we've known each other for a long time, and we made a pact when we first got famous. We never let a woman come between us. He let the judge, but you are one fine mamma jamma. I tell you right now, girl, I'll pour hot sauce all over you and work you like a reel. So funny. Then, of course, the trial goes on. He's presented no evidence that the guy's a killer, so they have no choice but to let him go free. Yeah. And he's like, he leaves or whatever. It's like, and then actually, Ellen Cleghorn is in that shit from SNL.
Really? I don't remember that.
She's an extra in the shit. She's like,
okay.
She as he's leaving, Jim Carrey's character is leaving. She's like, hey, you just let loose the second most wanted man in America. And Arsenio's like, strive to be number one, Roland. And then they ended with the Arsenio Hall shit or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's another Arsenio Hall skit specifically with Eddie Murphy. I'm gonna get to that a little bit later, but it's a special one on
yeah.
And another one that came up is Ace and the Main Man. They actually never gave these characters names, but like during the last season, It was Jamie Foxx and Tommy Davidson. They would play these bouncers. And they would always be at like different events, so it'd be like concerts and like sporting events or TV show tapings, and they would like never let anybody who's actually supposed to be on the show in.
And
then like they would let pretty girls in or other shit or whatever. They would never let anybody in. And they actually, in all their skits, they would always have a guest star.
Yeah.
And freaking funny enough, those characters actually debuted on another skit, which they actually did a parody of Seinfeld. Since we brought up Seinfeld,
Yeah.
it was Jim Carrey doing Jerry Seinfeld. They had the guy, the new guy I told you about, Jay Leggett. He was George, and the girl Karen Rosenthal. She was Kramer. Yeah, and apparently they at one point they're like in the hood or whatever, and like Kramer the girl Kramer comes out of nowhere like, why are you down here, Kramer? Well, this is where I get my hair products. And then like Jerry being Jerry's like, you know, dissing the freaking like the things of the hood. Why do they call it diss? Is that the opposite of dat? like, why do black people shake hands so vigorously? Hey, they do like, what do they call it, dap? Like he's like doing the dap, like, hey, I'm hurting your hand. It's really uncomfortable or whatever. And then like the two kids that they making fun of is the Jamie Foxx and Tommy Davidson character. Now Tommy Davidson's character is like really like sporadic and just really energetic. Like you crazy man. Like really weird and shit. And then that skit ends with them beating the shit out of Jerry Seinfeld, taking his place doing the stand up thing.
Yeah.
But they get their own skit, and like I said, they would always be bouncers, and like they would always like break in a song and like do fights and shit like that. And they will always meet the guests of the show. Like I said, Johnny Gill did one. The main one that everybody knows, because the fact it's been on YouTube for years, is the Tupac Shakur one.
Yep. Definitely the biggest. Because, I mean, at the time, I don't think you could find anyone bigger than Tupac.
Tupac was that dude, man. And freaking, like, Salt and Pepper did one. And actually...
it's too bad they couldn't get Milli Vanilli.
No, they did do a Milli Vanilli skit. But, like...
If you don't know Milli Vanilli...
Yeah. We'll Google them, kids.
Come back to us after you've watched some Milli Vanilli.
I remember they did one where it was like a girl like held up a sperm bank and she was like looking for like celebrity sperm and shit. It's like, oh, well, we got Milli Vanilli. That shit, that could be anybody. That was funny. But going back to the actual thing, like you always be like, they would always get into a conversation with the host, and then some like executive will come and like, hey, whoever is these guys giving you a problem. And then the Tom Davidson character would realize, oh, that's the real person. He would switch sides, like, oh yeah, it's him. He's the problem. It'd be Jamie's character, like, and they would just like get out of the way, and they would insult him. And then like Tommy would be like, yeah, you should know better. You should know better. He would try to go in with him, and then they would kick his ass out too. The funniest one to me was when there was like, it's some sporting event, and the San Diego Chicken shows up, and they just kick his ass. He's like, hey guys, I'm the San Diego Chicken. Shut the fuck up! And just start beating his ass. That was funny. Oh man! So that was a great skit. Oh yeah, this is a favorite of mine. Mr. and Mrs. Brooks.
Yep.
Kim and David Allen Greer as this elderly couple who's supposedly like a loving, and you know what I'm saying, you always see them like with their kids or whatever, like, hey, yeah, well, like, I can't believe you guys have been together for all these years. Yeah, well, the boat got rough, but the ship didn't sink. And after all these years, we still together. And then when the kids would leave, they would just go at each other, like just insult each other, like, look at Miss Brooks, looking at your dried up husk of a body. Got me mighty thirsty. Could you mind getting me over there, give me some juice over there? I sure will, Mr. Brooks. I mean, like, between your between your flatulence and your bad heart, I don't know if I'm sleeping with a man or a Mount Pinatubo. And then the funniest part about the skit is they would have like Indiana Jones style death traps throughout the entire house, trying to kill each other. One will open the door and be like fucking bamboo shoots, and then like one will open a cabinet and be like an axe comes down, like just about to take their head off. And then like I think at one point
it was borderline Tom and Jerry.
Exactly. And then at one point, like I think the husband was like looking in the punch bowl, like, hey, I think there's something in the punch bowl. And then the wife just pulls him down, tries to drown him in the punch bowl. And then finally they had like a big confrontation where like, they bring out weapons and they try to kill each other straight up for real. And then I think at one point they had like samurai knives. So like, and the one was like, well, prepare to enter the dragon. He said, the only thing dragon around here is them sagging breasts of yours. And then they go at it, and then of course they old, so they have a point where they have like some sort of episode, like either be arthritis or like high blood pressure or heart attack. And what would happen is they would end up in a compromised position, and it would look like whoever the kids were would come back and it would catch them in this compromised position. It would look like they were about to have sex or having sex, and they're like, "Oh my God, you frisky devils!" And then they would end it with, "And we still together." That was the end. That was their catchphrase in that skit.
Which was a great one.
Yes, it was.
And it's universal as hell.
Yes, it is. We still together. Yeah, I know a lot of couples like that. A lot of couples are not really that old, but they just, it's getting to that point now.
Well, it's almost like there was that Dane Cook bit about how he loves to see a couple together that hates each other because he can watch them just about murder each other over something as simple as the jelly.
Oh, the jelly shit. Yeah. That's the one Dane Cook thing I do love is the jelly thing.
The one that, just as a quick aside, since I brought him up anyway, the one my family loves the most is the one talking about an accident and everyone comes out of the house. Because my dad worked in law enforcement pretty much his whole life.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the cops are doing. You always have that person who shows up and they come outside. They're like, "Oh, I was in my kitchen cleaning a dish and I heard it, so I came out. If that'll help at all in your investigation, I'd be willing to go to court. I'll bring the dish as Exhibit A, and I'll testify that I heard it, and I came out."
And then the whole thing with the jelly thing, like, I swear, do we have jelly at the house now? I don't give a fuck about the fucking jelly. and then they get to the house, like, they talk to each other, like, "I told you there's jelly at the house." Like, God damn it, I care about the jelly. And then, like, they're still not talking. And then after a while, they like, the woman would try to break up, and she's like, "You got some laundry that you want me to do or something?"
Well, no. The other part that he said was he liked to come by and give him just the one word that's going to make the fight go to the next level.
Yeah.
And say like, "Hey, bro, hey, I totally understand what you're saying about the jelly, bro. Tell this twat to get jelly." He goes, "Oh yeah, what was that word? Twat." He said that later on he'd be at home, and then she'll be like,
"Twat."
No, she'll be sitting there, she'll be cleaning a dish or something all by herself, and all of a sudden she'll, "I just want you to know, I am not a twat."
Yeah, that shit.
And he said he knows. He's just fucked their life for at least the next month.
Exactly. So another great character was Bonita Betrayal.
Yeah.
By Kim Wayans. And she was basically this neighborhood woman who would break the fourth wall and she would talk directly to the viewer.
Yep.
And she would basically be gossiping on the entire neighborhood. She would like do like the little thing where she would like see the person like, "Hey, there's such and such Lester." And then she'd talk to him real nice like, "Lester, what you nervous about? You already said I do." And then she look at the camera like, "I would be nervous too if I'm waiting for the results from the free clinic." But then she like, "But I ain't want to gossip, so you ain't heard that from me."
Of course.
Yeah, and apparently they based that on a family member. They basically have been kind of around the way about it, but it's basically implied that it's based on their mother. That she would be gospel, and then
that's got to make her so happy.
Yeah, she actually knows. She knows, and it's like it's like like she knows it's about her, and she's like, you cannot convince her that she's not a star. As a result,
well, hey, she's making a lot of money. Yes. Well, her kids are anyway. Off
exactly. So freaking like, so she would do that, and then like she would do like little asides. Like she would have like there's one where she had like a fur shawl, whatever. You like this little shawl? Yeah, it used to be full length. Long, beautiful. I look like a queen, baby. Then one day I was cooking some pig feet. The thing caught on fire. That's all that left. That was a great character. And then, like I said, the one that will always get me was Miss Jenkins.
Oh,
she would always like say the worst one. She's like, "Yeah, I love me some Miss Jenkins. Don't nobody better say nothing bad about Miss Jenkins. That's when I lose it. That's when I go off." And then she'd be like, "Yeah, just don't go over our house though." House so dusty, roaches ride around on dune buggies. But I ain't one to gossip, so you heard that from me. I love that character. Some other great characters from the Wayans. Tom and Tom, the brothers. Tom, the brothers. Basically, it's a parody of the old TV show, The Smothers Brothers. For those of you who don't know, look them up. If you Google The Smothers Brothers if you don't get a chance. But
if you don't know The Smothers Brothers, we're going to go off a lot of comedy, especially sketch comedy stuff, because this has been something that basically originated out of vaudeville.
Yes.
If you don't know them, you need to sit down. You need to watch. A little bit of. Got to watch Caesar. Because I mean that's just killer. And then of course, like in my opinion, Clayton Bigsby.
Yeah.
The best American sketch ever written until Clayton Bigsby showed up. Who's on first?
Oh yeah, the Abbott Costello, that shit.
If you haven't watched Abbott and Costello, if you don't know that, you got to start at the beginning because you can't appreciate where you're at without knowing where you've
And
been.
Living Color does a Who Was on First
Oh,
too.
it's killer.
Yeah, with Louis Farrakhan and Al Sharpton. Who was on first? No, Jews on first. Jews on first. The man's at second. Mr. Charlie's shortstop, and it's a conspiracy at third. Great skit, man.
It's killer.
Yeah. All right. So, like going back to the Brothers, it's two black guys, both named Tom Brothers. And basically, they had this variety show where they do like corny songs and shit, talking about like black life or whatever from their point of view. And they're basically just sellouts,
Totally.
total sellouts. And then like freaking like he had these weird ass songs where like I think one that I really liked was they were talking about like Bill Cosby's a doctor with a lawyer for a wife, which black folks all know is the average life. A 6-bedroom house and a really cute pup. His kids don't do drugs and they don't get knocked up. So it's hidey ho as I pick out my fro with a hey you jive turkey and a what do you say, bro? We're doing this stuff till our ratings get low. We're brothers who are brothers and we have our own show. And then they would do like weird jokes between the songs and like, hey Tom, yes Tom, what's black and white all over? Us. It was a little, hey Tom, yes Tom, why are we both named Tom? Easy, we're named after our uncle. So great stuff, man. Like freaking like, and then
Wait, pause for a second so people can do the math.
Yeah,
Their uncle.
Uncle Tom. Yeah, that's basically what the whole gist of the skit is. They're Uncle Toms, folks. For those of you who don't know, insinuating that a black man.
Go read Uncle Tom's Cabin. For God's sakes,
Insinuating
there's a
that
lot you better know.
Insinuating that a black man is Uncle Tom is a very bad thing. Trust me. But what they would do is like freaking like what's another one? Not who's there? Spike who? Hope it's not Spike Lee, that little troublemaker. What's his problem? But they had different skits where they would like do that kind of stuff. They actually had their own show, Black Like You, where they would have like black guests come on who are angry at the man, and they would completely not understand it at all.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then there's one where it's like they talk about police brutality, like freaking like if you're in trouble, you call 911. Like the cops are your friends, they're the ones whatever. Like if they happen to cuff you and give you a smack, it's because you're guilty, not because you're black. It's so fucked up. But yeah, I think the last one they did was Tom and Tom applied for like a white country club, and the white country club people, I think they're like bullshitting them, like because of how much of a Tom they are. But they realize this is really who they really are, and it's like, hey, we can get these guys to join the club. We can get this discrimination suit off of us. And they realize, yeah, Tom is the blessing that they're working for.
See, and this again, you have to sit down and go. Mm-hmm. The censors were nervous, really. I don't think you could do half this shit today, unless you have your own YouTube channel.
Exactly. Yeah, but yeah, they did a bunch of different time.
YouTube will probably yank you.
Exactly. Another great character, the background guy.
Oh yeah.
They never gave this character a name, but basically the gist of the skit is Jim Carrey. They always do some like weird thing with like some sort of report. Like, hey, this is Fox News reporting from whatever, and it would be two characters in the foreground talking about whatever the issue is. Jim Carrey would be in the background. He'd be just like a tourist or some sort of spectator. Turns around, notices the camera, starts mugging up a storm
for the camera,
and then just starts doing really weird shit.
Yeah,
yeah,
which is like his specialty anyway.
Yeah, one I liked was the one with the skits that I do remember was he was at the beach. And like he was like he stole some balloons, put them in his chest, and then pretend he had like really big breasts and start dancing. But then some like muscular dudes start coming by and they grab him, and then they take him off screen. You hear a balloon pop. He comes back in. He has one balloon left, and he's been pantsed. He puts his shit back on. He takes the one balloon, puts it like on his shoulder, and he just like starts humping around
like he's a humpback.
Yeah. And then he sees a hot chick walk by, pops the balloon, goes after her. A minute later, you see the hot girl and Jim Carrey like doing jet skiing together, and I remember the skit ends with the yellow submarine from the Beatles.
Yeah,
and Jim Carrey comes out dressed like John Lennon. There's like a little Asian chick dressed like Yoko Ono, and then they doing like peace symbols and shit. It's so weird. And another one was they did one at the Super Bowl. Where he's like, he's a fan. He's got like fucking the foam fingers. He's like pretending he's got wings and all this other shit. He's like sliding right in the back. He's got like a fucking. He got like one of those like golf carts, like
Yeah.
And then I think another gag I remember was that they did one at the White House where he's like pulling a rope or something. Jim Carrey comes into the screen from the side, pulling the rope. He goes to the other side. You see the rope still being pulled throughout the scene. And then finally the thing is pulled in. It's Jim Carrey dressed as fucking George Washington crossing the Delaware. And then the one that was like in the woods or some shit like that, they're talking about like alien abductions. And Jim Carrey has like a little fucking keyboard. He does the shit from Close Encounters.
Yeah.
Like the doo-doo-doo-doo. And then the fucking alien doo-doo-doo-doo. And he gets abducted. That was a great skit, man. But that's just a great exercise of just improv right there, man.
Oh, 100%. And again, with the physicality of him as a comedian, because he doesn't have a line.
No, he does not.
Not a single line, but he steals it.
Yes, he does, man. Oh, yeah. Calhoun Tubbs.
Oh, God.
David Allen Grier's old blues man in Calhoun Tubbs.
It's killer.
Who was actually based on a real person. Apparently there was a dude in Ann Arbor, Michigan named Shaky Jake Woods that apparently David Allen Greer was a fan of and was familiar with doing his, like when he went to the University of Michigan. Shaky Jake was like a regular character out there. And he was basically the character on Shaky Jake Woods. Apparently I think he's passed away. But his thing was he'd be this blues man sitting in like different places or whatever, like strumming his little guitar, either talking to the audience or like he'd be like asked to be a musical guest or some shit like that or whatever. But
Okay.
most of the songs he would do would be like really offensive songs and shit.
Yeah.
And his little gimmick was he would sit there and like, hey, talk about a particular subject, like wrote a song about it. Like here you go. He'd always do the same little riff. Talk about whatever. Thank you very much. And apparently that he like did several gimmicks. The first skit kind of explains his gimmick. Like I did several gimmicks throughout my career, electric career. Yeah, I've been doing 75 years. You know what I'm saying? So like, I never really made it to the next level, but you got to think about, you know what I'm saying, those little victories. So I've been a success and being a failure over 75 years. Yeah. And he's like, see what I'm doing right now? That's my new gimmick. You know what I'm saying? I was peg leg Calhoun, but my feet swelled up something bad from me sitting on my kneecaps all day. So the thing I'm doing right now, see, that's my new gimmick. And the last year, I've written over 12,000 new songs, and none of them is over 13 seconds. Yeah. And like there were ones where he'd be like asked to sing at a funeral or whatever. Like it was a funeral, and he was like singing for his buddy who had died, Fatback. And you see Fatback's family
God,
there.
that one.
Yeah, Fatback. A good old buddy Fatback. Yeah, and you talk about the family and shit. Like, one thing he loves is his beautiful wife. You know what I'm saying? And like, and he always talked about her. Wrote a song about it. Like, here you go. Fatback wife wasn't nothing but a stank trap. She gave him a bastard child. Yeah.
It was just the worst.
One thing he loved, he was like, hey, Fatback loves some catfish. Huh? I say, Fatback loved him some catfish. And one thing he loved was that little baby girl child. His little girl child or whatever. Yeah, she loved that girl. In fact, she cooked fish for him the day he died. Wrote a song about it. Like, here you go. I can't even say it.
Do it.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to laugh. Fat daughter so stupid. That stupid girl fed him the bone. They all crying and shit. Yeah. One thing I know though, Fatback loved his family. It's like you made sure that they are taken care of, like fucking they gonna be just fine. Like and he's like, wrote a song about that. But sometimes he'd be like, I didn't write a song about that. But I think could right now. Like here you go. Fatback didn't have no insurance. They about to lose the house and car.
It is one of the easily the top 10 characters come out of the show.
And it is one where he was asked to sing at like some sort of political rally with Jim Carrey, who's like a politician running for office or whatever. And he's like, this politician's like, yeah, this man right here, he'll never, all them allegations about him sleeping around with women. I'll tell you right now, that man would not touch no other woman. Wrote a song about it. Said to hear about it. Here you go. Politicians don't like to touch no women. He prefers men in leather. And Jim Carrey's like, they were all consenting adults. And then like he was singing for some prisoners. Like I don't remember the rest of the song, but I remember the ending was like, "Why y'all in cages? I'm spanking your wives and dogs." And then the great one was Jim Carrey played this like rock musician. I think he was trying to sound like Axl Rose or somebody like that. And he was like trying to buy some blues from Calhoun or whatever. Like, and Calhoun's not like the squarest blues dude, really. He's like, oh, I bet you came from like some back shack in the South. No, actually, I'm from Baltimore. And then he like gave him some money. He's like, like I said, I'm from Baltimore, Mississippi. And he's like, I bet you did like drugs and you did like you shoot up and you puke it raw out. Like, nah, man. Like, I never did no drugs. Nah, man. I think the only drug I ever did was a buffering. Like, come on, man. Like, give him some more money. Like, oh yeah, man. I did all kinds of drugs. I'm high right now. Whole song about it right now. He's like, I did so much drugs in the 6 days. I can still get high off the residue. It's such a great character, man. And then Jim Carrey shit does this shit or whatever. I like, hey man, like who's like, yeah, you get the blues. Of course you get the blues. What? I got money. I got a beautiful girlfriend. Oh, you talking about that girl I saw you with? Oh no, man, that girl don't love you, man. That shit love you at all. You wrote a song about it. Here you go. Man, that girl don't love you. I guess that 30 minutes, the girl sure does love you. I guess that 30 minutes she spent in the bathroom with Axl Rose is the way she like to show it. He's like, I can't believe it. That bitch. And then he gets somebody else. So, great character.
It's honestly, like I said, easily a top 10 character for the show.
Yeah.
Fatback's still my favorite, though.
Yeah, Fatback was a great one. Another great character, Candy Cane. This was one of the later characters during like the 5th season. It was Allie Wentworth, and she played like this children's host, Candy Cane, who was like, all kinds of fucked up. And she would have these relationship problems. She would air them out on this children's show. And I remember one, she was like doing like workouts and like we gotta do a workout today. And here are my partners, Anorexic Rabbit and Bulimic Beaver. Let's do some exercises, okay? Bend and stretch and reach for the stars. I'm wasting my life in singles bars. Again, you're still gaining weight, but what can you do? She goes on this little tirade or whatever. And another recurring thing is what's his name? Jamie Foxx would come in as different characters. One of them was Farmer Smiley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, hey there, Candy. It's Farmer Smiley. Hey there, Candy. Look at that now. And like, so what's the letter for the day? Well, the letter for the day, Candy, is C. Look at that. He was like a little thing of the. He's like, can you say some words that start with C? Yeah. Candy, creep. Like the alternate like candy, creep, cow, cruel, cookie, commitment. Like, can you put all those words together? I can. Farmer Smiley is a cruel creep that can't commit to Candy Cane because he'd rather be with his wife who's a cow. Like, Farmer Smiley, can you think of some other words that start with C? He looks at it, he's like, yeah, I can think of a word that starts with C. And another character would be, he's like some kind of clock character or whatever. He's like, could you give us a little rhyme, whatever? Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran at the clock. The clock struck 8. He said your period was late. The next day, he moved to the next state.
It's hard, though, when you start playing with the nursery rhymes, because Andrew Dice Clay had that on lockdown.
Yeah. And then they had another character, Jurassic Benny, who was basically Barney. And he would come out in that Barney suit like, I love kids. Kids love me. And then, like, but she would always be, like, real big on, like, Jurassic Benny. She's like, you know something, Benny? I love you. I love you, too, Candy. Like, no, you're not getting me. I love you. I understand. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. And then she's like, but you said so last night. And then he would take off the head. He would take off the head. Be a black dude. It'd be Larry Wilmore. It would be Mark Wilmore with glasses on. Look, I told you, don't call my house. I know, don't call my house. I know you. I know you don't want to burn my little girl's bunny. And I'm like, also stop stalking my house. Like he was like walking around my house, like stalking around my house and pink me out, thinking I don't know it's you. And he go put the helmet back on, like, I love kids. Kids love me. And then I remember Jamie Foxx was like, fucking, hey, like, give a hug, man. He's like, I ain't hugging that hoe. This is a great character, Candy Cane. Candy Cane, I forgot the actual name of the show, but it's Candy Cane, yeah. Oh, yeah. Carl the Tooth Williams, Jamie Foxx, boxing. So Jamie
he did a lot with boxing in this
yes, he
couple
did.
of seasons he was there. Because we'll get to Mike Tyson in a minute.
But specifically Carl the Tooth Williams. So he played this like fucked up boxer. He had like a Jerry curl. His face will always be like messed up. His nose will be mashed in. But his prominent thing is he only had one tooth.
Yep.
Yeah. And then he'd be like, I remember the introductory skills like, if you knock out Carl the Tooth Williams, you get a free dinner at some restaurant or whatever. And like some reporters that was like, so what do fighters like Larry Holmes, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Mike Tyson all have in common? They all whip my ass. And like everybody and their mama could knock him out. That's really what the fuck was.
He has a glass jaw.
Yeah, the glass jaw or whatever. And then like I remember it was one where they made fun of the fan man thing from the Holyfield fight.
Yeah.
And like he was like him. It was him. He's like, hey man, it's like, you know what how they got rope a dope? This is called dope on a rope. Yeah, Carl the Tooth, and he would always come in there like freaking like doing the they've edited it out of the syndication, but he would always come into like Snoop Dogg, no, to Ain't Nothing But a G thing, the rhythm. He would always do that coming in. And his catchphrase, I'm hollering 1 with my glove in your mouth, fool. So stupid, man. And actually, the name is based on a real boxer, Carl the Truth Williams. Yeah, so there you go. Cephas and Reese Mayweather. Kim Wayans and David Allen Greer as these two awful soul singers. And they would say, the gist of Cephas and Reese's, they were basically like Ashford and Simpson, like old school R&B things like that, where they would just like do like all these ridiculous scats and run-ins where like the song would take forever to end. Yeah, because they would just keep stopping. Like, wait a minute now, baby, you say you like they were like, oh, ain't no mountain high. Wait a minute. You say you actually come around and went to that mountain to come get me? I sure will, honey. All right. Ain't nothing to go back to the song. And then the funny thing about it is David Allen Greer would do what I call the gospel holler. Like what I was on to do, he's like, oh my god, man, it always kill me, man. Cause I know people. Cause I'm from the black church, man. I know people that do that shit, man. Like, oh my god, it's so funny.
You can't do black gospel without it. Oh, I mean, that's what I grew up singing when I was a kid, man. My
favorite one that he did in terms of songs was David Allen Greer doing "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star." Look in the sky, baby. Is that a star? This for you. Twinkle, twinkle. Little star, how I wonder where you been. So fucking stupid. Oh yeah, they also had a play.
Oh god, I forgot about that.
Yeah, they had a play because it's around the time they had like a lot of them black plays, like Mama I Want to Sing and Your Arms Too Short to Box with God, plays like that, and Dream Girls, shit like that. So they had a play. Don't get on the Lord's bus if you ain't got correct change. It's so fucking stupid. And they would have songs like "Don't talk to the driver when the bus is in motion. Remain behind the white line." And they had a song called "Can I Get a Transfer?" It was just basically them like with a tambourine, like, "Can I get a transfer? Can I get a transfer?" Like, put your hand up, like when you're done with it. Put your hand up. Like, so what have it, like, I'm gonna simulate, so because you folks can't see it, like I'm doing like a tambourine thing with like with AJ, like every time, like, "Can I get a transfer?" And so, without a transfer, can't go work. Without a transfer, can't go home. Without a transfer, can't go school. Without a transfer. So stupid, man. But I love Cephas and Reese. Another great one was they had a death row inmate. It was Jim Carrey. And his last request is to hear some soul music, and they bring in Cephas and Reese. But they annoy him so much to the point he wants to like kill me now. Take my life, please. Now. It's like torture or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, anything's better than this. Put me down.
Oh, stop! Fucking stop! The Dirty Dozens.
Oh God.
So this is one of the last season ones. This is probably one of the great skits of the last season. The Dirty
I think
Dozens.
it might actually be the greatest skit of the
Last season, yeah. The Dirty
that
Dozens
sketch.
is the one recurring thing. They would have a show called The Dirty Dozens. And for those of you who don't know what the dozens are, it's your mama jokes.
Yep.
Yeah, your mama this, your mama that, your mama so stupid, your mama so ugly. And they would have a game show with your mama jokes. And more often than not, it was usually like Jeopardy style. They would have like different categories of shit for different amounts of money. You're like, okay. And then they have this white guy named Stu Dunphy. Is actually an actor named Nick Bakay. Bakay, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. He's actually the voice of Salem on Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so he be the host. Like, hey, this is welcome to the Dirty Dozens. Where talking trash gets you cash, and you might win some money if your mama smells funny. So they had different categories like your mama so stupid, your mama so fat, your mama so ugly, and potluck. And they would have the different contestants. More often than not, it was usually Jamie Foxx's character named T-Dog Jenkins. He was usually the main one. He was usually the one that would win all the time. Then they had another character named Scotty J, who's kind of like his nemesis, played by Tommy Davidson.
Yep.
And they had one character named Anthony Clark, who always get like fucked up categories and shit. And then occasionally, like they would have other people like play this like, ancillary character, like Karen Rosenthal plays like a housewife that doesn't really get the game. And then Tommy Davidson plays like this nerd or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, your mother's teeth are so yellowish when she expectorates, it resembles the by waste of a domesticated bovine. And like, judges, and I'm sorry, we just don't know what you're saying. Oh my God, the bitch's teeth are so yellow she spits butter. Man. Yeah, and then the white housewife was like, "Your mother is so nasty. She's really unpleasant to be around." Judges, sorry, you gotta really get with it. Like, and then she finally gets with it at the very end. Like, your mother's so fat. Oh yeah, your mama's your mama's so nasty. Your mama's so nasty. The punk bitch only changes her stinky, funky drawers every 10,000 miles. And it shocks everybody, like, because she's like super nice.
Yeah, like, damn, how did that happen?
Yeah, but they would have like certain jokes they would say, like there's certain ones they would say over and over again, but like it's like your mama's so fat. Your mama's so fat she wakes up in sections. Yeah. Or your mama's so greasy she sweats Crisco. Yeah. Your mama's so greasy she got it's like one where he did like multiple ones on Mama So Greasy. Your mama's so greasy she used bacon as a Band-Aid. Your mama's so greasy she slid in the home and ended up in Detroit. Yeah, shit like that.
The classics.
Yeah, exactly. And then they would have like a showdown at the end of a lot of episodes. One episode was like David Allegretti played this guy named Montez, and the whole point was to insult Montez so much that he would get out of his brand new car. And if he gets out his brand new car to come whoop your ass, you win the car. It's Jamie Foxx. He's like just getting on. It's like, yeah, your mama so this, your mama so that. Hey man, your mama like the Pillsbury Doughboy. Everybody poker. And that sets him off, and he wins the new car. Another one was where they had him go up against. Actually, they had him and what's the name, Tommy Davidson, and so Mother Teresa. And
that was messed up one.
Yeah, and then like she's like, I don't get it. What I have nothing in love in your heart. And Jamie Foxx is like, you need a Tic Tac in your mouth though. And like actually, it's Tommy Davidson actually won that one. They insulted her to the point where she got violent. Tommy Davidson. And then the one that was I really liked was when T-Dog went up against the all-time Dirty Dozens champion. Ed O'Neill as Al Bundy.
Oh yeah,
and he was like it's like these giant women like bringing him in the fucking scimitar and shit. Like he's like a lazy boy and shit. And like I remember a lot of the jokes he said were like freaking like old school jokes, like freaking like, but it was done Al Bundy style.
Yeah.
So it's like your mama's so fat I rolled over twice and I'm still on her. And that kind of thing. But the kicker was at the very end because and Jamie Foxx's character had no defeat for it. So It's like your mama is so stupid. She gave your uncle a blowjob because he said it would help with his unemployment. Of course, they bleeped out blowjob.
Of course, they had to.
But you can tell very clearly what he said. But yeah, those are the Dirty Dozens. They would do it in different game show formats. So they do like Jeopardy. They would do like Wheel of Fortune, Wheel of Dozens.
Yeah.
They had the Dozens Pyramid. They had Family Dozens, which was like Family Feud style. It was great, man.
Which actually might be my favorite iteration.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Another one that's kind of like kind of underlooked. The Dysfunctional Home Show. Jim Carrey is like this drunk dude named Grandpa Jack McGee. He'd be like,
Oh, yeah.
And welcome to the Dysfunctional Home Show. And he would talk about how fucked up his life is and shit. He would have like a slutty daughter, and she had an abusive boyfriend who was always played by Jamie Foxx, and he had an alcoholic mother who hated him.
Yeah.
And every time he would talk about food, it would always be just a can of pork and beans.
Yeah.
Pork and beans. Pork and beans. I love the first one. The first one really got me because he was talking to his daughter. Like, she's like, "Dad, you've been drinking again." "Of course I've been drinking. There's the only way I can forget the way you broke your mother's heart. You're the reason she left me, right? I mean, it wasn't my fault you were a hooker in junior high. And, I thought all 13-year-old girls had a beeper and a mink coat." Stupid shit like that, man. And then, like, he would always try to kill his mother, and or the mother would be in a stupor, and he would pretend she's dead. And she would get up, "I hate you, Jack. You're a loser." He always try to kill her, man. The Dysfunctional Home Show.
It was like Throw Mama from the Train.
Basically. And this one that you love, Reverend Ed Cash and Reverend Carl Pathos.
Oh, my God. I was watching that shit again today,
The
man.
pastors of the First Church of Discount Sin. And basically, this is like every televangelist ever, really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then like it'll be Damon Wayans as Ed Cash Money, y'all, and of course the killer Jim Carrey as the Reverend Dr. Carl Pathos.
That was pretty good, dude.
Our church's spiritual gynecologist.
Which he actually said during the Senate hearing episode.
Hearing, yeah,
that
exactly.
sketch, that was one of my favorites.
Exactly, yeah, and they would basically just clearly charlatans.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Well, and everything was always about money. Like if you wanted to receive any kind of forgiveness from sin, you had to make a donation. In fact, they would say the root word of the word forgive is give.
He's like, "Hey, we're gonna talk about tithes. We talked about it last week, and we talked about it the week before that, and we're gonna keep talking about it till y'all get it right."
It's not 5%. It's not 6%.
Yeah.
It's 10%.
Y'all keep. Yeah. The Lord works in mysterious ways.
Well, my favorites during the Senate confirmation one is they're starting to get pressed really, really hard. So Damon Wayans accepts a phone call and says, "Oh, you're gonna have to hold on.
Hold on a second.
This is a call from the Lord."
It's the Lord. And yeah, the thing about the Damon Wayans shit, he would speak in tongues.
Well, yeah, so he started speaking in tongues to the Lord. He said, "Hold on, just saying, Lord, I never heard you say words like this before. I never heard you talk like this. Hold on one moment." And then he starts talking in tongues.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
and then like, what's he doing? He said he's speaking in tongues. And speaking in tongues, Jim Carrey goes and licks that chick's face.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do that since I came in here.
well, and then he's standing up and he starts to basically list out his sins and all of his sexual indiscretions and everything. And they decided to start praying. And while they're praying, he pulls out pictures of the senator with some girl.
Yeah.
They start showing.
Gentlemen, I think we've had a miracle here. yeah, that shit. But he was like, Jim Carrey's like, you think things a woman who does nasty things with all four basic fruit groups. And he was bringing to crying like Jimmy Swagger.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, I am a spiritual scum. I have sinned against you. And like we're actually having a discount right now. All sins that start with B.
Oh no, that's in the first one in the church. That's actually my favorite sketch.
Burglary, bribery, Reverend. What about the big B? I think somebody's been a bad boy.
Well, then they're taking phone calls. They've got somebody calling in from death row. Oh, it seems like you might need our expedited service.
Yeah,
that's $29.99.
Yeah, exactly.
But the best part of the whole thing is they bring down the counter from the top, and the counter comes down from the top. They've only raised $11.
Yeah.
It's $11. I just watched it again today.
Yeah, exactly.
And Damon Wayans goes, "Well, I'm this is just pathetic, and this is horrible. And I think this might be a good time for us to mention that since you cannot seem to hear the call of the Lord, we have saved all the phone numbers from our adultery forgiveness special last week.
So we're
and
gonna make some calls
of our own.
and then the number starts moving.
Oh, no, it just starts going crazy. It's into the millions before you know. It's just boom, 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 boom. Oh, praise the Lord!
And it always end with Jim Carrey. Actually, I like the Damon Wayans first one when he did the talking to tongues, because I was watching like old Robert Tilden shits.
Yeah,
because they did do the thing now with it's like him farting, but he does this.
Oh yeah.
But he like Damon Wayans is like eat beat new beat how about you hava nagila hava mama say makusa mama say.
Well, no, because he's trying. He says, let me speak to the Lord. He's trying to speak to the Lord, and then
that's how you got to talk to him.
He starts with the first one. He goes, nope, that's a bad connection. He goes to the next one. Nope, that's a bad connection too.
Then the mama say mama makusa.
That's what he finally gets through to the Lord.
And I'm back. The Lord says hi. But then it'll always end with Jim Carrey doing a damn song in a stupid voice.
Well, it was always some weird, screwed up song that almost sounded like an old church song, but the words were not even close, and it was always disgusting and fucked up, and usually about him having sex with someone.
The other day, something in the praise.
Well, no, I was walking through the park the other day, and the Lord saw me, and He ran away. He ran away from me.
I tried to sing in praise. He ran away. Run away.
Exactly.
Away. My singing made sweet Jesus run away. So fucking stupid.
That was killer, man.
He does another skit where he does that same voice, but it's for Jimmy Swaggart.
Yeah,
it's like Jimmy Swaggart Heaven or Hell is like an album. There's like two-sided album. Like the heaven side is him singing gospel songs, like singing like Amazing Grace and like Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The voices told me so. And then the other side is him like being real sinful. He's singing like Too Loud Crew and shit like that. Oh, me so horny. Me so horny. Me so horny. We love you long time. And then, he's singing like, are you down with OPP?
Oh, yeah.
Are you down with OPP? Are you down with OPP? Are you down with OPP? I'm an old perverted preacher. Watch me.
How in the hell that guy gets out of prison, he ends up right back where he was, is going to be beyond me for the rest of my life. But I'm so glad for that sketch. It is so fucking funny.
Fire Marshal Bill Burns.
Oh, dude. I love that one.
Fire Marshal Bill Burns. That's the one that most people love when they associate the characters of A Living Color. One of the first characters to come to a lot of people's mind is Fire Marshal Bill.
Well, that's one of the ones they actually they took those sketches, they recycled them for all that.
Mm-hmm.
They had Fire Marshal Bill for the hot tub one.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Which that's a great one.
Yeah, but basically it would be this scarred up fire marshal played by Jim Carrey. And he would basically come to like some setting, it'd be like school or somebody's house, and like have like fucking like safety briefs talking about like, yeah, it may be safe, but maybe I can't do the voice, but like all the stuff could be deadly. Let me show you something. And he would give like some asinine scenario
that would never happen.
Like, it was like,
and then something would get caught on fire.
I got a couple ones. One was like an alien crab people invasion. The other one was
that was when he burns the school down.
When a sex doll is accidentally filled with hydrogen instead of air, and then it explodes due to static electricity.
Yeah.
And another one is an outbreak of psychotic elves. So stupid.
Well,
man.
And he always had that grotesque face from the Make a Death Wish Foundation sketch we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, it was just, again, classic over-the-top physical Jim Carrey.
Yeah, and then he always everybody remain calm. I am a fire marshal. And I let the school ones by the way, because he had he was burned some mural.
Yeah.
And it was burning behind him. Everybody remain calm. I'm a fire marshal. By the way, what's behind this wall? The chemistry lab. Boom, and it blow up the school. It'll always end with him blowing up whatever place he's at.
Yeah.
And he would end the people would be like, oh my God, we've lost everything. Our place is ruined and shit. And he would come back either disfigured or just burned or whatever.
Burned and crispy.
Yeah, yeah. I like the one where it was hey kids, who wants? It was in school. Hey kids, who wants marshmallows? Yeah, but we don't have any sticks. We don't need sticks. He puts a fucking marshmallow on his finger,
yeah.
And starts running into the fire. Let me show you something. It's really fucked up. Fire Marshal Bill Burns. He actually, I love the one where he had his wife, Ashley. who was basically Kelly Caulfield, who did the voice, he did the face just like him, and she all fucked up too, and like, oh.
Well, it's a family thing.
Yes, it is, apparently. But yeah, let me show you something. That's the Fire Marshal Bill shit. Oh, Frenchie.
Well, and you know the impetus behind that,
Yes,
right?
I do. All right, so I'm going to share the story with you guys, and this is directly from Eddie Murphy and Keenan Ivory Wayans, who both have attested to this. So apparently back in the day, they were hanging at Eddie Murphy's house, and one thing that Eddie's fans would do is they would send him bad copies of his Delirious suit from his famous special Delirious. It'd be like the red leather suit that he had. And one day, Keenan Ivory Wayans was in the closet looking through these bad suits and found one that looked like, well, you know what? I should wear this all night. I should wear this. We should go to the club and I should wear this. And Eddie's like, are you serious? Like, yeah, I'll go to the club and I'll wear this. He's like, you're not going to do that. Like, Eddie was like, fuck, you're not going to do that shit. Come on, you're not going to do that shit. Come on now. Yeah, I'll do it. He's like, okay. And then, like, what happens, he started putting on the clothes. And, of course, like, Eddie and Keenan are very different sizes. Yeah. Eddie's, like, maybe 5'8", Keenan's 6'4". So he's like, I like how Eddie describes, oh, yeah, so he's just busting out the suit and shit. And then apparently he would have, like, apparently for some reason Eddie had wigs and shit in his house. So he had James.
You say that like it's weird. I mean, shit, man, if you're the world's biggest actor, you should have all kinds of crazy shit. You never know when inspiration's going to strike.
That's true. I'll give you that. All right, but anyway, he had like a Rick James like wig in there.
Which, that's my favorite part about Frenchie.
Yeah.
Because it shows Rick James was giving back to the comedic community far before we ended up with Chappelle's Show.
Exactly. So what happened was that he put on the wig, he got on the leather suit, and he actually had Eddie apparently had a bodyguard named Fedorov, and what he would do is he had this generic chain with an F on it. He said, "Hey, Fedorov, give me that chain." So he put the chain on, and he gave a little story like, "Okay, Eddie, we can go out, and I'm your country cousin Frenchie from Augusta, Georgia." And Eddie's just laughing his ass like, "Okay, are you really gonna do this?" Like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this." So he's like, "Hey, all right, let's go out." He's, "Oh, wait, one thing's missing." So he goes to Eddie's kitchen and gets this giant sausage from Eddie's refrigerator, and stuffs it in his pants. So it looks like he has a giant fucking dick and shit. And like he positioned it in such a way that like it would stay in there. And like when he would be going out there dancing, it looked like he just had the biggest dick ever and shit. And when they went to a club, he stayed in character the entire night as Frenchie, and he was like doing like stuff like he would go into the club and do like the dance. You know, they do the roof, the roof is on. He was doing that shit. The roof. Somebody shit out on the roof. And the funny thing about it was Rick James actually showed up to whatever club they were at, and then like Rick James comes over, sees Eddie, and then he sees Keenan as Frenchie and shit, like, and he's like, who's this? Like, and Eddie's like, "Oh, this is my cousin Frenchie from Augusta, Georgia," and like, and Keenan in full character like takes Rick James' drink, like, "Hey, what's happening, man?" Like takes his drink and shit, and Rick James like impressed him, like, "I like this nigga." You hang with us all night. You will hang with us all night. So, like the kid is telling the story, like he's in a limo with Rick James and his group, the Mary Jane Girls, as Frenchie the entire night. He stayed in character the entire night. Eddie retold the story recently on Fallon. On the Jimmy Fallon show, and like, and Jimmy loves it because he telling the story like, Frenchie came from that night or whatever, and apparently by the time they got back, the suit was completely destroyed.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
But that was the inspiration for the character of Frenchie. So he did the same thing. He's like this obnoxious character that would show up.
It's just right in Rick's face. He couldn't see it.
Yeah, man. And so he had like these, but they changed the suit. He had like a pleather suit with like fringe and shit, yellow fringe, long Jerry curl, sunglasses, the gold chain and shit. And he would always end up at different parties and shit. And actually, at one point, he mentions he was in the band with Cephas. He was in the band for Cephas and Reese. Yeah, I used to play for Cephas and Reese. Yeah, he mentioned that in one skit. I remember that. And he always talking about his AMC Gremlin that he drives. Isn't that, I'm pretty sure that car was like recalled at that point.
Yeah, it was recalled. I'm pretty sure.
So he had that car, and it always had a boot on it.
Yeah.
And then actually, Carlos Mencia, since we talked about that, Carlos Mencia is actually in the skit He's like an extra, like they're like at some house party. He's like a valet guy. He's like, hey man, is that your Pinto outside? Hey, no man, I ain't driving no Pinto. I drive a Gremlin. Excuse me. And then these like had like one. I think the first one was like raising funds for like saving the dolphins. Like we're using money to save the dolphins. He's like, oh man, look. I ain't trying to tell you how to spend your money, but it's the Rams that's in trouble. Because that was when they're still in L.A. Yeah. And then the guy was trying to impress him, like, yeah, I got my PhD from MIT. Oh, well, I got my BLT from Mickey D's. I got my hair done by TBC. And I once got VD in DC. So fucking silly. And each of the skits would end with him doing some variation of Super Freak or Party all the time.
Yeah.
But more often it's usually Super Freak. And then I remember one was they did the bachelor party thing.
Oh yeah.
He shows up at the bachelor party, like completely ruins everything, man. It was like they brought in a cake. And it's supposed to be a girl popping out the cake, but it's Frenchie pops out the cake. Yeah, man, some little girl had a little bit of draws on, man. I'm like, hey girl, like, go. Hey girl, like, fuck, you need a little more than that. Send her home, man. Like, are you serious? Yeah. And then he replaced his champagne. Like, we had this bottle of Dom Perignon we've been saving since college, and he replaced it. He's like, what happened to the champagne? Oh, man, I saw the bottle, man. You had some stuff from 1955. I'm going to hear my friend drinking nothing like that. Pour all that out, man. I got you right here, 1992, Cold Duck. The nasty-ass wine that you get at liquor stores and shit. Yeah, Cold Duck. Yeah, and then he's like, hey, we're going to watch this porno tape or whatever. Right? Okay, yeah, I got something better. So he puts in the tape, and they're watching the tape, and they're like, oh, yeah, man. That girl's hot, man. I'm like, yeah, it's good. Like, it gets better. Like, and then oh, it really does. Like, and he's like, watch this. And then looking, is like, what the hell is this? Disco Godfather? Yeah, man, Disco Godfather. Rudy Ray Moore, the producer, the writer, the choreographer. Can't nobody do the robot like Rudy Ray, man. He was so stupid. But in the end, he would always end up saving the day because, the bachelor party one, he sent the girl home to get her friends. And they came back and they had one girl. They got a bunch of girls now. Yeah. And he always, his little catchphrase was, I'm hip, I'm slip, and all the women love my, you feel it in the wrist. And they always end with Super Freak, yeah. Funky Finger Productions. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of people in Hollywood that are exactly like Funky Finger Productions.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
I've only been here for 10 years. I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah, but it's these two fucking charlatans trying to make it in Hollywood, and it's like David Allen Greer and Tommy Davidson, and one of them was like, I'm Clavel, and I'm Howard Tibbs III, and we are Funky Finger Productions. Now, I'm gonna give you one of my business cards. I'm fresh out, Howard, and Tommy Davidson. Take a beat. Bam! And it would always be like a business card of another business that they write their shit on.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that's my mama's, sorry, don't mind that first part. That's my mama's recipe for succotash. Turn around back. That's my sister's number in red crayon. Give her a call anytime if she down with it. But if a boyfriend or Boudreaux answer, you better hang up the phone. And they always try to pitch some bullshit movie or whatever they're doing. They always be like on camcorder, super cheap.
Yeah.
And the movie ideas that they would have, and a bunch of them would be like fucking hilarious. Like one was Dirty Dancing with Wolves. It's like all of them on cheap camcorder. Like it's like them, like one of them's in a Civil War outfit, the other one's like in a wolf costume. They're just dancing in front of like some apartment in like North Hollywood. Then another one's the Poseidon Adventure, it's like some shit like that, but it's like the Poseidon Adventure and Dirty Dancing mixed together, but it's just Tommy Davidson dancing in the fucking bathtub in shorts. And what's the other one? It's a bunch of them. Like they had different ideas. Oh yeah, my afro is too short to box with God, and Teenage Mutant Negro Turtles. And they were always trying to get in and try to get it to the Hollywood shit. They always kept saying they had this band called Saturn, Satern, with like 15 horns. Had 5-10 horns, but we got 6 left. It was all be some ridiculous shit, man. I used to love me some fucking Finger Productions.
Well, it's even better now. You've been playing in this business as long as you have.
Exactly. Great moments in Black history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which actually, you get to see a revival of that in Chappelle's show, but it's Great Moments in Hookup History.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it makes sense because the Paul Mooney connection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they would have like David Allen Greer or Tommy Davidson talk about black people's contributions to society, and they always have them like a black person doing some ridiculous pop culture invention, but in just like the most gross way. Like the first one, like one of the ones I saw was like the accidental invention of the Jerry curl. Like some dude's working at an auto body shop and accidentally turns a loading it too tightly and it leaks and all the oil leaks on the shit. It was a Jerome Johnson, the inventor of the Jerry curl, and was another one like the 1920s was like Sir Martin Lawrence. Like some dude named Martin Lawrence, some dude in the 20s named Martin Lawrence. Stubs his finger, he gets on the stage and starts cussing up a storm. Everybody's dying laughing. The inventor of the first Def Jam. What's the other one? The first party DJ, a dude named Ho, accidentally scratches a fucking record at a party, and then like he tries to fix it like, but it gets better. Like and then like you see
Everyone
everybody
goes crazy.
Everybody say ho, ho. The first DJ, and the first one was the first black astronaut. And it's like a Neil Armstrong, like the original mission that went to the moon, Apollo 11. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and a black dude named Skip something, Slick Washington or some shit like that. Or whatever. Yes, it was Slick Johnson or something like that. Yeah, something like that. But they left him on the moon because they only had like enough fuel to take 3 people back, so they just left him on the moon. And then the dude that the invention of the self-service gas station, just some black dude sitting at a pump. Like just real tired, and when some white dude comes like, "Hey, could you fill up my gas, whatever?" And then he, like, in a moment of invention, he said, "Get it your damn self." And the invention of the self-service gas station. Oh yeah, this is one that I've really been looking forward to. I think it's really, to me, the essential in Living Color character. Homie D. Clown.
My absolute favorite.
Homie
Bar
D.
none.
Clown. Damon Wayans, Homie D. Clown.
You've seen the birthday sketch, right?
Yes, I've seen all of them.
When he breaks, that is one of the best covers and improvisations I've ever seen in my life, and he manages to pull it off.
Yes, he does.
Like you, if you've been watching for the first time, you didn't watch Damon enough to know.
Yeah.
You think that's what was supposed to happen. It was killer.
He cracks a few times a few different ones, but yeah, that was the one that I really liked too. But basically, the whole get down is he's his ex-con who's on parole, and the only job he can get is just like a fucking
A birthday
party clown.
basically.
And he's like degrading all the children that he always encounters and shit. And apparently, his real name is Herman Simpson. And like you hear that in there's like different iterations of the homie skits or whatever. But the invention of the homie character is twofold. Damon Wayans had a character in his stand-up called the Angry Black Comic or whatever, and he would talk about like, "Hey man, I stabbed me a white man the other day, man. You should have been there. It was hilarious," and then shit like that. But he had that homie voice. And as far as the name goes, Paul Mooney.
Yep.
Paul Mooney was a writer. The legendary Paul Mooney was a writer on In Living Color. Thing about it is, a lot of the skits he did didn't actually end up in the show, but Keenan thinks that Paul is best when he's angry. So he will specifically ask the writers to piss Paul off. And then whenever time he would ask somebody to do something, he would like, "Oh, I can't do that, homie. Oh, homie, don't play that." He always refers to people as homie. Even on Chappelle's show, he's like, "Hey, Paul, can you come do this?" "Oh, I can't do it, homie." But he always call people homie. And then so they took that name, homie, and attributed it to the clown, homie. The clown.
Well, and then it works for the catchphrase, "Homie, don't play that."
I don't think so. Homie,
and
don't play that.
If there's any argument as to what the best, most well-known sketch is from In Living Color, I'll settle it right now. There's only one sketch that actually had a video game made of it.
That's right, Homie the Clown.
And that was Homie the Clown. Granted, it was a shitty PC game, and you have to realize 94, 95, I think, when it came out, didn't really have a hell of a lot in terms of what you got now for an RPG, but still fucking awesome.
Also, Homie the Clown is also a rarity in sketch comedy history because of the fact he's one of the few characters that actually had a skit that ended in a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's at the end of the second season, Homie the Clown is like in some park doing this usual Homie the Clown set, and he gets approached by these 2 white dudes who are looking for a spokesperson for a cereal, and they pay him enough money that he accepts. And he's like on the commercial getting chastised by white children, just playing along, like, "Yeah, get some homie wheats, like now filled with marshmallows, chocolate, and other nutritious pieces of candy." Now this homie plays, and he's like a star now. He's got like money. He's got like a nice car. Wearing suits. He's still wearing the makeup, but he still got suits and shit.
Yeah.
And then the one little kid, like, he's like, "Come on, homie, be your old self. Diss me again, like, freaking like." And then homie's like, homie completely sold out, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then like and then they go to like they always had the one restaurant, Shea Whitey.
Yeah.
Like it's in several.
It's a common theme.
Yeah, it's in several like homie skits, Shea Whitey, and friggin' like homie goes into like and then the kid hits him with the shit. You're not homie the clown. You're homie the man, and it hits him and like it hits him with a to be continued. Yeah, I thought it was a great ending.
Dude, it was a killer ending.
Yeah, man.
It's about the only way you could do it.
Exactly.
Because you got to do it justice.
And then at the season 3 premiere, you see the resolution of it. He's in a restaurant. He's like adored and shit. And he's like, "Hey man, when do I get to meet the man? Like, you got to really sell out to meet the man." He's like, "Well, I denounced Farrakhan. Jesse Jackson did that. I dated Madonna. Who hasn't? Did I mention that Rodney King was way out of line?" And then the door opens like, "You did it! You completely sold out." And he goes into this office and he meets some white guy who's representing the man. And he's like, "Finally, the man. It's the Charlie. Bobo. Old fade white devil cracker mother." Okay, that's enough. He's like, "The only way you can really join the establishment is to kiss the ring of the man." And homie's like, "1 second, please." And does like fucking like nunchuck shit with the fucking sock. Boom. I don't think so. Homie never played that. This is all part of homie's playing about the man. I love that shit, man. And then my favorite of the homie's kiss is when homie met Sally.
Yeah, that's pretty killer.
Yeah, so he has his probation officer named Sally. Like I said, this is the first time you actually hear his first real name, Herman Simpson. And like she goes in there and like they have a little discussion. They actually go in each other, but then they find like they actually like each other. Like they actually stop and say like, "I don't think so," simultaneously, and they fall in love. And then you see like a little montage of them going to the carnival, having sex and all this other shit. And then like they're in the park, and homie's trying to do his regular shit, but like she's stopping him, and he's like, maybe like it's time for you to get a real job. Like, "I got a job, honey. I'm a clown. You're not a clown. You're a buffoon." Like, so like you should get a nice job at that restaurant that you like so much. Not Shea Whitey. Yes, Shea Whitey. So it's like him getting a valley job. Think about it. You in this one of those nice little red jackets, opening the door for the man. If you're nice enough, they might actually let you in the restaurant. Come on, Herman, give it up. It's time to wake up and join the establishment. And then he wakes up like, "Establishment, huh? I don't think so." Homie don't play that. And then he finds the little kids. That's one of my favorite ones where he does Tommy Davidson.
Yeah.
He's like a fucking some groceries or whatever. He describes their love affair. So like, which one of y'all kicked me in the butt early? Me. You're gonna be my assistant. So he sits Tommy Davidson on the bench. He's like, "Once upon a time, there were two lonely hearts that came together. It's like two eggs, just like this." Cracks him right on Tommy's head, and then love poured from their hearts, nice and thick, like pour some milk on them.
Yeah.
And then Homer discovered it was just a trick to whiten him up. It's like flour, and then he felt his heartbeat. Over and over and over, hit him in the head with that sock. The end. Oh man!
And for anyone who missed it, he is absolutely my favorite character from In Living Color. When I was 10 years old, I went to school for Halloween as Homie the Clown. And as we talked about before, I don't know what the hell's wrong with everyone else today. I didn't do blackface. I'm not an idiot. Even at 10.
Thank God, bro.
But fucking Homie the Clown was the best. I had the tube sock with another sock rolled up inside of it, the whole thing, man. Yeah. Homie didn't play that.
Handyman.
Dude, close second for me.
Handyman.
And again, Damon Wayans.
God, man.
Oh, dude.
How they got away with Handyman? I don't know how they got away.
Couldn't do it today.
Hell no, you couldn't do Handyman today.
I'm surprised that it hasn't come back to be something to like protest against him.
No, so Handyman, for those of you who don't know, was a superhero character played by
YouTube that shit.
Played by Damon Wayans, and he is basically a handicapped person, pretty much a gimped up person.
He's a physically handicapped superhero.
And he had a secret identity of Clark Bent. He worked at the Daily Glove, the newspaper, with a Lois Lane character and all that other shit. And he, like, whenever trouble would rise, he would
for the handicapped community.
Yeah, exactly. He would go into a closet, come out as handyman, and then when he fly away, up and away, he would just fall out a window, and then he would magically be flying. and then he would go to whatever the problem is for a handicapped person, beat him up, and he always say, "Uh-oh, let's get busy," and whoop whoever's ass and shit.
The best one for me is, you remember, I can't remember who it was, but remember when the guy's using the handicap stall in the bathroom?
Mm-hmm. You have the first one.
He beats the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And then it comes around full circle because later on, the guy that he beat up is now in a wheelchair. And so he's going into the bathroom to try to use the bathroom, but the handicap stall is occupied. So he goes into a regular person, and Handyman has to come back again to kick his ass because you're not allowed to use the regular
But actually,
one.
the handicap community actually came to embrace Handyman.
It's
crazy.
freaking hilarious.
Yeah, and then like the kid, like, is Tommy Davidson in the wheelchair. Like, for a long time, the physically disabled have been waiting for a superhero, and you're it. Thank you, Handyman. And his catchphrase was, "Never underestimate the powers of the handicapped."
I'll never do it today.
I like the one where they did the origin of handicap as Handy Boy. And it's like, and his adopted parents were like Jim Carrey and Kelly Caulfield.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're adopted, son. Wait a minute. You're not my real mommy and daddy. And Jim Carrey's like, not by a long shot. That's so fucked up, man. But yeah, great character, Handyman. And occasionally he would have a sidekick, the Tiny Avenger, who was a little person. And his main nemesis was Dr. Naughty, played by Jim Carrey. He always had like a tick, like, I hate the physically challenged. Oh, the head detective.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, what happens is Damon Wayans again, playing this pretty much Mr. Potato Head cop, who was like a cop that got into a bad accident, and he's like, we can rebuild him. We have the technology. All we need is $6 million. The department doesn't have that money. $1,500. Okay, I got. He takes what money he has on him. It's like, I got $28.45. Okay, it's $28.45. All right, we'll do the best we can. It'll be a lot shorter, and a lot slower, but at least he'll be alive. And like, so it'd be Damon Wayans as the head detective, basically just a head with some arms and some feet, like a Mr. Potato Head. And his partner was usually Keenan Ivory Wayans, but in later seasons it was Marlon Wayans. And Keenan's character would be like, he would always refer to Keenan as some like ex-athlete.
Yeah.
Like, you remember when you played for the Lakers? You were the best dribbler in the league. Like, you're not suggesting one thing, you're suggesting, hey, dribble me past him. Just like, come on, I can't do that. Just do it. And then he turned head into a fucking basketball and shit. And then another one's like, remember when you played for the football? We played in the Super Bowl. Like, you were the best kicker in the league. Like, you're not suggesting one thing. You're just like, kick me past him. He was so stupid, man. The head detective. Oh yeah, hey man.
Yeah, there we go.
I know goddamn Damon Wayans.
Dude, he honestly, like, he was the Eddie Murphy of the show.
He was a G, bro. Damon Wayans was a G, bro. Damon Wayans as the head of a West Indian family called the Headleys, and they're always like, "Hey man, ding 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 ding."
That would have actually been a great movie.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to Hey Man, the show about the hardest working West Indian family, the Headleys. And he always had like fucking like 20 jobs and shit.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, boy. When I was your age, I was a maintenance man, a carpenter, a cook, a security guard, a hospital orderly, and an Amway salesman all on the same day. Me almost didn't have time to make you, boy. And he's like, and Tom Davis would always play his son Byron with dreads and shit.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I got 4 jobs. Hey, boy, 4 jobs ain't nothing, but I'm also in 10 band. Wait a minute, 10 band and a 4 job. That's 14 teens. That's bad as a nut, boy. Come on, yo, chip off the old coconut butcher, all right. And
then that's where they'd get away with all the Jamaican cursing.
Exactly. And then the worst offense of any of the Headley skits is to say you have 1 job.
Yeah.
1 job. You might as well slap him in the face. And you say you just got 1 job.
Yep.
Yeah. Like the daughter fell in love with like a doctor or whatever. Like freaking like she's like, oh, I've met in love with this man. He make $100,000 a year. Mama gonna be rich. And how many jobs he got to make that kind of money? Only 1. He a doctor. 1 job. You hear the doctor going out with the boy with 1 job. And she's like, you're tired and all this stuff. And like, why don't you guys take a vacation? I'm on vacation right now from 14 jobs. It's like, all right, I'm in love. Like, it's just like when you and mama first met. Remember, I never loved your mother. I married your mother because she had 6 jobs. so fucking stupid, man.
Oh,
and they always it would always end with, oh no, and man, got to go to work. There's one where they ran an airport. There's one where they had like a courtroom. Another one where they ran a hospital. Like they always and they had all the jobs. And I like the one was like it kept saying like I'm a judge, I'm a circuit judge, a per judge, a good judge of character, and I'm also an understudy for Judge Reinhold. And because the judge when they kept mentioning Judge Reinhold all the time and shit. It's so stupid. I'm sorry. The Homeboy Shopping Network. That's another one of those early ones.
It's what made the pilot.
Exactly. The Homeboy Shopping Network. Two fucking thugs. They out here stealing shit and they trying to basically haggle it to the masses and shit. Like fucking like, hey, what's up? It's your boy. Welcome to the Homeboy Shopping Network. I'm Wiz. This the Iceman chilling. It's Keenan and Damon and shit. And then they also had like seminars and all kinds of other shit. The first one was basically just them peddling shit out of a truck they had. Yeah. It's like, hey man, these TVs right here, this is great, man. These are some of the TVs you might find at the better hotels. Matter of fact, these are the same TVs you'll find at the better hotels. And they're like, look, jewelry. Look at all this stuff, man. You got different pieces. Some of them have been broken in transit though. And then they always will find one like, hey man, check this out. He puts a ring on himself like, hey man, it looks good, don't it? You gonna keep it? Yeah. I'm sorry, customers. That was purely a display item. And then I like the one where they had the satellite. Hey, for you cable buffs out there, they had like a giant fucking satellite, and then it was like property of NASA. Yeah. Not only would you get all the cable channels out there, but you'll be able to talk directly to the astronauts. And then the other one, they had a seminar, how to make more money without using your money. Like, who got more money than they know what to do with? The government. So it's fucking, and then talking about some way to peddle food stamps and shit like that. And then they had like why don't you try the More Money Valet Kit? What you do is you go in front of a fancy restaurant, put on this jacket, like a red jacket, hang this here sign, and you'd be surprised how many people would just walk up and give you luxury cars. Some of them will even tip you before handing over the keys. And they did the Super Bowl one too, where they're like in a stadium, like selling vitamins, steroids, and then like giant fucking rings for the steroids and shit. And they had like, hey man, so you want an autograph or whatever? And then they had like actually a player in the locker, like, hey, sign this to Laquita. That's L.A. Quita. And then like it had like actually had a stolen cartoon, like this beautiful model displaying it. Look, check out the body, yeah. Check out the headlights, yeah. Check out that trunk space, yeah. And the car come with it too. Man, that was funny. And what's the other shit? Fucking where they? There's one where actually they were outside Dodger Stadium, like just they're selling cars, but they're selling other people's cars who were inside watching the game. And they actually had one with like, hey, you got the big family or whatever? They had a bus. Yeah. And it's like, hey, man, maybe you want to personalize it. And they had like the thing where it switches the names, like your name here. And then, of course, the catchphrase, more money, more money, more money, which started on SNL, by the way.
Really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's one of those weekend update things. Damon, one of the few things Damon had, and he did that catchphrase on Weekend Update.
Well, glad they're able to carry it over.
Yeah, exactly. More money, more money, more money. But, and then, of course, it became a movie with that catchphrase, more money, which had nothing.
Hilarious.
Had nothing to do with the actual skit itself, other than the fact that freaking it was just like Damon Wayans in it and shit. Yeah. But it was another great skit. We'll see. Keenan is Jesse Jackson.
Which was killer. He
did a couple skits as Jesse Jackson. The first one was basically a hypothetical situation where what would happen if Jesse Jackson was actually elected president.
Oh yeah, because that was around the time of his first run.
Exactly. Like, and he would always rhyme and stuff like basically it was like this is his like 8th year as president. And shit. Yeah. And he's like, my administration has done much legislation, though it took a lot of perspiration. But I think my one act that I'm most proud of would be the Jackson Limitation Act. And that is, of course, the act that bans all performances by LaToya or Tito Jackson. They said, and like people didn't think 8 years ago that a poor boy from the Carolinas could go from the outhouse to the White House. Could go from eating with cheap joints to talking to joint chiefs. From eating bread with jalapenos to meeting with the Filipinos. Yes, hip hop, you don't stop, rock it to the bang, bang, boogie the beat. He said, and one promise I have kept in my administration is I promise to keep hope alive. And they're like, could you elaborate on that? Oh, of course I could. Bob Hope has been frozen solid. And our scientists believe we could keep him alive for at least another 100 years. So raise your hands one more time and say, keep hope alive. And then here's another one where he had, actually, funny enough, this is a very interesting one. The second Jesse Jackson thing that he did. Because SNL, at the same time, did another skit where Jesse Jackson hosted. And they did a skit where he was talking about Dr. Seuss books.
Okay.
And so did A Living Color. And the thing about it was, Keenan claims that he wrote his first, but SNL ran theirs first. So it's like
which is very likely.
Yeah. So Jesse Jackson is on SNL. He's the host, guest host or whatever, and he's starting off a monologue reading Dr. Seuss books. You know, hop on pop and shit like that. So Keenan does his version, but he does ghetto Dr. Seuss books. So it's like the next title's Horton Here's a Hoe, Hop on Cop, The Grinch Who Stole My Stereo, and green eggs and the government cheese. He's like, I do not like green eggs and government cheese. I do not like it because it makes me wheeze. I do not like green eggs and the government cheese because it keeps me from going to the toilet with ease.
Wait, just as a side, there's this guy, Tim Conway Jr. He's got a game show that he plays on the radio called What the Hell Did Jesse Jackson Say? And he's got clips of Jesse Jackson. Most of them seem to be a bit new, but I don't know how long ago the last time you listened to him.
Yeah.
He slurs his words together so bad sometimes.
Yeah.
They literally have people call in trying to figure out what the fuck is he saying. Like, it's crazy. Especially when you add the rhyming to it, man. You get lost so fast.
Loomis Simmons.
Oh.
That's one of my favorites from David Allen Greer. Who plays this like charlatan, again, on infomercials. Infomercials, of course, the early 90s, they were really big back then.
Yeah.
And he does shit where he's probably more honest than most of the people in the infomercials, where he pretty much tells you, like, I don't give a fuck, like, I want your money. And the first one is like, Loomis Simmons, make me rich. He's like, let me let you know right now, you ain't never gonna be rich. You just ain't. But you can contribute to somebody else's success. Mine. He said, and when I got money, I'm happy. Let me show you. And here's 2 pictures. This is a picture of me with no money. He's like, sad. This is a picture of me with money. He's happy. He said, what you do is you take all your friends' money and then give it to me. It can go a long way. And in styles like a brand new car and shit. Like, look, I used to be just like you, living day in, day out, paycheck to paycheck, sitting on my couch like an old wet food stamp. And I thought, hold up, Lubis, I can have other people give me money too, or whatever, something like that. But he always has listen to my satisfied customers. And it's like one was like Jamie Foxx was like, hey, I had the choice to give money to Loomis or give my wife money for expensive like surgery. Now I took it was a hard decision, but I think I made the right one. He has to earn with his wife. Ain't that right, baby? And then like Kelly Caulfield plays this like Minnesota lady. She's like, well, I decided to give my family. I decided to give Loomis money, even though my family advised me against it. So I decided to give Loomis our nest egg, and I'll say to my family, whoever they are, wherever they are, see who's laughing now. Loomis is rich, and you said it couldn't be done. See, it's just that simple. And then he was like, if you give me some money now, I'll give you this like 8-track tape set or whatever. The first one is, thank you. It's a special thank you message from me to you. Listen. He's like, just him saying thank you in different ways. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Buenas noches. Thank you. Erigate. And the second one is Loomis hums. It's just me humming my favorite tunes. Listen. He's like, and the last tape, well, they just blank. So if you put them in your stereo and turn up the volume real loud, you'll hear a soothing hiss, much like that of the ocean. And then another one was Let Me Harass You. Where like basically what you like to ladies out there, like, hey, you want to make some money? What you do is you get your job, get me a job at your place. I'll harass you. You sue the company, and we'll split the money. It's just that simple. And that's one. And then another one is a Loomis Simmons, Let Me Knock You Up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like freaking like, I come through, like if you having a problem with giving children, like I come through, you have freaking sex or whatever. And also you have to respect my no return policy. Once you drop that calf, I ain't coming back. And my favorite is the Loomis Simmons custom built condoms. And the condoms are custom built to fit Loomis Simmons. He said, how does that work? This is how it works. You take your girl out to dinner. You take your girl out dancing. You take your girl to the movies. And at the end of the night, she's starting to feel all freaky. Then you call me. Loomis come over. Loomis bring the Loomis Simmons custom built condom. Loomis have freaky sucky sex with your woman. Like, well, hell, for an extra $10, you can sip a scotch and cheer me on if that's your thing. And he's like, here's all my satisfied customers and shit. And he's like, three guys. Like one guy's like, I used to have problems with condoms because of the fact I didn't feel anything. But now with the Loomis Simmons custom built condom, I still don't feel anything. But I don't get hot and sweaty either. And then another one is Jim Carrey. He's got like fucking herpes sores. It's so good. Ever since I got these sores, I never trust a condom again. But then I heard about Loomis Simmons' revolutionary technology. Now I can keep my dignity and please the ladies. And then there's one guy with like a leather jacket and a bottle of scotch. He's like, go. Go. He's like, I enjoyed every minute of it. That was a great character, Loomis Simmons.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Men on. It's raining me. Hallelujah. It's raining me.
Again, one of those ones that made the pilot.
I like just looking at it just makes me laugh.
Well, Ben Wayne's always had the most ridiculous hats glued to his head.
So it's two guys. Basically, they were a parody of Siskel and Ebert. It was Blaine Edwards and Antoine Merriweather. Yep. And welcome to Men on Film, the show that tackles whatever the subject is from a male point of view. And then the sponsors were always they would always have like some gross sponsor.
Yeah.
You know, like this show is brought to you by Jules, the gum that explodes in your mouth. I bet you can't chew just one. And who would want to? There's another one that had Mega Shake, the second greatest source of protein, but it tastes like the first.
And again, I can't imagine why the sponsors in 1991 would be scared.
Going to this football one. Men on Football. Thank you. This is brought to you by Spalding, the official balls of the NFL. I ain't gonna touch it. But they had different subject matter, and like the whole gist of that particular skit was finding the homoerotic
Aspects of
element of
whatever it was they were talking about.
Exactly. And actually, what it started out was, it was originally Keenan and Damon.
Yeah.
They did the characters as kids, and they named them Dickie and Dale Davis, and they would go around the East Village in New York as these characters as teenagers. And
I mean, why not?
Exactly. And then remember I told you in one of our other shows that Robert Townsend was part of this like improv group in New York, and Keenan would occasionally come in there. They would do the characters. Him and Damon would do the characters for the improv group.
Right.
So yeah, they started there. It started years before I Live in Color, but they had different subject matter: men on film, men on books, men on television, men on fitness, men on vacation, men on art, men on football, and men on men. And what the gist of it was, they would talk about these different subject matters. Now, whenever they had something they didn't like, they'd just say, hated it. It's usually something that had involved women.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or like small men, like, yeah. Like the book ones, like, we had this new book called Little Women. Hated it. Then there's Little Men. Hated it. My favorite one in the book was like, this book is called Roughing It. It's a happy tale. It's so simple, but so fucking stupid, man.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, the kicker was at the end. We have a favorite book. This book is entitled Moby Dick. I ain't gonna touch it. And then, like, what happened was they would talk about whatever subject, and David Allen Gray would go on these tangents about whatever is going on. He was like, to me, the football one. I would use the football one as an example. Me. Nothing beats that moment right before the play begins, as the muscular, sweaty football men get down on that line of scrimmage. There they is, eyeball to eyeball. Their breath is like steam from a bull's nostrils. I only got 3 words to describe it: fabulous. I'm too.
I know, I was dead when I watched that.
Yeah, and the football one is like, oh yeah, one thing I found out, the numbers on the back is only for identification. Yeah, Dame was like, the smallest one I saw was 11. Then I saw one that said 7, 8. Child, I almost fainted.
Oh my god, it's so simple.
Yeah, it's like, what's your favorite matchup this season? Oh, that would be the Oilers and Packers.
Well, they were talking about the Redskins and the Bills. Mm-hmm. Well, that's like Cowboys and Indians.
Ooh, yeah, I remember that now.
And then that's when David was like, well, I don't know. For me, I'd just rather watch the Packers and the Oilers.
Yeah. What's the red flag in the right pocket mean? Oh, those are the wide receivers. It's always some kind of gay shit with it, man. It's always make me laugh.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then the cooking one was also a funny one where they had all the cooking shit. They was like phallic shapes, so it was like bananas and cucumbers and shit. And then like it was one where like he was about to kill the cucumber, but like Damon stopped him like, no. He's like, boy. They always have like a buff ass dude as the boy. Like, boy, could you put this in my car, please? Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, they always do that shit. And then like, oh, okay. All right, so we just had a little bit of a cue here. But they're always in this shit with the review, which is 2 snaps.
Yeah. Well, and then at one point it finally morphed into 3 snaps in a Z formation.
Yeah. It had different variations. This is the yet unheard of Zorro snap in Z formation. And 2 snaps up in a circle and around the world and back snap.
Which freaking hilarious. Brilliant way to set up a nice little catchphrase, essentially.
Exactly. And the funny part about it is we're actually looking at our...
Just so you know what the cue was,
Yeah.
we're running off a battery, and we're into the red zone, so unfortunately we're going to have to wrap this up a little sooner than we hoped.
Yeah, exactly. So
Send us money, we'll get a studio.
Jesus Christ. I think this warrants a part 2.
This definitely warrants a part 2.
Yeah,
I would do a part 2 on this in a heartbeat.
We're not done.
No, we're not. We're barely at the...
Ladies and gentlemen, we are
halfway.
We're announcing our first part 2.
We are. This is the first part 2.
We're announcing our first part 2.
We intimated we might get to it with the sequels, but this is the first one that's going to have a part 2.
God damn it, we ain't done yet.
No.
That's right. But yeah,
Next
we go
week?
Next week.
Next episode, we're going to do episode 2.
So we got a cliffhanger. Our first cliffhanger.
Just like Homie the Clown.
Just like Homie the Clown. And
I
actually, Midhon has one too. But we'll get into that next time. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Dropping That Culture with JD and AJ. Tune in next week. We're going to be doing part 2 of In Living Color because it's such a great subject matter. And like I said, we're not even done yet. Again, this is Dropping That Culture with JD and AJ. I'm JD.
And I'm AJ.
Hope you folks have a good night. Can't wait to see you next week.
Thanks for listening.
Dropping that culture. 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 Dropping that culture.